All right, I think we are live again. My internet crashed, apparently, so it killed my stream. Let's that happens occasionally. Let's see what's let's see if we're live. That happens occasionally. Let's see what sounds like I'm live and I'm loud and clear still. That's fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and repost real quick that we're live and pray that the internet stays on task with us today. You can check episode 62, the first draft, to hear all the intro spiel. So I'm just going to try to kick through stuff here real fast. Just give me a moment to do a refresh on the social posts. Click, click, click. Click, we're almost done. And I went through this whole spiel about, oops, internet crashed. Let's try this again. And blip. We can copy, enter. There we go. Should be up and running. I've got like 15 more buttons to press. And then we'll be on the way. Frack. Go here. And then change this. Hold on. Down here. There we go. Copy. Sorry for the delays, guys. I don't know how to automate errors like this on the fly. So we're going to boop. There we go. There we go. And click, 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 click. Almost there. Okay, so we're working on Bastions, the Bastion campaign. And there. Okay, cool. Everything should be up and running. Kiss and a prayer. We're going to stay in the air. Not that anyone will be watching at this point, but in case you are, God bless you, and thanks a lot. If you think this stuff is cool, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications when we're live in the future. Here's a bunch of books I've already created on the DMsGuild. They're all designed to work together. So, yeah, check them out. If they add value to your game, then cool. Let's see. So we're going to drop this down out of the way, and we should have here the Bastion campaign document that we're working on. And don't need that. Here we go. Bastion campaigns. Why are those different? Okay, life makes a little more sense. There. Now life makes a whole bunch of sense. Thank you. Okay, cool. So I can't just give you this document because it's going to be on the DMsGuild. I can give it to you on the DMsGuild, just not before then. So this is a read-only document that I use. This is what we're actually building with. And if you're a playtester and you get credits in the book, then you can get access to this information more directly. But this is just here for you guys to be able to read along and see what we're doing. Once we actually lock down how these mechanics work, we'll be able to push it off to an editor who will clean it up for us and help us reformat it and then bring it back. At that point, this document goes down, and once the book gets published and it gets onto the DMsGuild, then we'll have this point to where it's on the DMsGuild, where you'll have 100% free preview, just like all the other books that I created. So right now, we're working on the orders that you can issue to the facilities within a Bastion. So there's 7 orders that can be. Well, hold on. Let's just get past the. We'll get past the facilities and get into what the actual facility benefits are, like the properties of the facilities. There's facility benefit. There we go. Facility properties, and let's bigify that a bit. There, facility properties. As mentioned above, facilities have. I can get rid of this. Facilities have, as actually the language would be as listed above, Facilities have one or more of 3 types of properties. Facility benefits, which are benefits providing bonuses. Hold on, I'm going to highlight that. Benefits that provide bonuses and unique options to Bastion with this facility. So like this facility lets your Bastion do something that it otherwise wouldn't be able to do. The downtime activities are things that characters acquire. Characters gain unique properties and abilities after spending a Bastion turn in this facility as their downtime activity. Like you can gain a temporary feat, or you can gain temporary expertise in a skill that you have. Or there's a number of different, like you can get a charm or temporary hit points, or you get a free word of recall back to your Bastion Sanctum, for instance. These are a number of downtime activities that your characters can partake in to equip them and assist them in their whatever their next adventure is. And then there's Bastion Orders, and Bastions can take actions on behalf of characters when issued orders through facilities. So each facility can potentially do one of each of these 3. Like a Bastion can do 3 things. It could provide 1 benefit, 1 downtime activity, and 1 order, or it could provide 3 Bastion orders, or like a downtime activity and a Bastion order, and like another Bastion order. Like any of these 3 things in any combination of 3. So as we go through the list of facilities above, a number of them have like direct orders, like the War Room. You can recruit with the War Room. You can issue a basic recruit order to hire a number of CR 1/2 soldiers to defend the Bastion or attack a rival, as detailed in issuing orders section below, which we'll be getting into once we get into recruiting later on today. But it also has 2 facility benefits. When issuing an attack order to siege a rival Bastion or settlement, you can roll an additional Bastion die equal to the rank of this facility, the War Room. And the other benefit that it provides is when issuing a research order to learn information about neighboring nations, rivals, local events, or NPCs, you can roll an additional Bastion die equal to the rank of this facility. So you need to have something that you can issue the research order to be able to capitalize on this. Or if your characters spend their downtime doing recon on one of these different types of targets, then during that week of scouting, you would then add the Bastion die at kind of like a Bardic Inspiration die, using your hirelings as assistants in your scouting effort to research another location, for instance, like a rival Bastion is encroaching on your territory. You could issue an order. If you have the ability to send scouts, you would then be able to issue an order to send scouts off to do that. Or if you want to do it yourself and create an adventure out of it, then your characters go, and while they're performing tasks involved with scouting, they would add the Bastion die, an additional proficiency die that they get to add, like a Bardic Inspiration die, from the War Room to their efforts to do that. That's the adventure. Maybe you actually going out and scouting, maybe you fight some hill giants and discover a dungeon or whatever, but the process is hex crawling that area to discover what the terrain and any kind of obstacles and activities of your rivals are in that region. That's the actual goal of the Bastion, and your characters taking it on themselves makes it an adventure. That when they complete the adventure, they come back to the Bastion and then file all the reporting of what did they discover, and now you can like update your world map and make notations on it, like hill giants are here, deep dungeon, come back and explore. Like you can start populating your map, so you can go out on ventures to scout an area, collect the data, come back, and then decide to reassess. What's our next step going to be? Now that we know all this extra information, what do we want to do? And while you're out roaming around anyway, you could decide, while we're here at this dungeon, let's delve into a little bit to see if it's a dead end or if it's something that needs to be explored. So like you explore the first level of the dungeon, it's like, oh yeah, there's a shaft that goes down and there's creepy shit down there. My paladin can sense it. So let's put an earmark here, get back home, and equip ourselves properly for a dungeon delve, and now you're using your Bastion to create or supply the gear that you need and preparing you for the spelunking so they can give you additional like insight dice to be able to use during the course of the adventure as inspiration points or as bardic inspiration dice to help your team, like, make sure that you get down to the bottom of the chasm correctly, be able to set up camp properly, blah 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 blah. You see how the system can fold into how your character wants to adventure. Let's see. Cool. It looks like I'm still live. That's good news. So like you can see, there's a variety of different ways. Like the trophy room, all it does is provide benefits. It just provides a bunch of extra Bastion dice that you can roll when you're performing different tasks. So, or when you're issuing different types of orders to your hirelings. Let's see. Work in progress. Facility benefits, downtime activities, bestow charm, get past all those. Let's get down. Okay, great. Actually, in orders. Hirelings in a Bastion can carry out orders unique to each facility, such as creating magical items and non-magical items, researching information, or trading exotic materials. You can issue a number of orders to a Bastion each turn, equal to its rank +1. Each order requires a d20 test, and so if your first rank, again, rank 1 to 5 is equivalent to your characters gaining proficiency bonuses. 1st, 5th, 9th, 13th, 17th, 1 to 5. And so everything in the game is built around the theme of on a scale of 1 to 5. And the DCs, the difficulties of completing a task, is scaled 1 to 5. 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. DC 10 to 30, which is the bounded accuracy curve of the D20 game. So the Bastion dice that you get from facilities is at first rank a D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, which is the proficiency dice from the Dungeon Master's Guide 2014 that you replace proficiency. Your character could have a proficiency bonus of +2 at first level, or if you're using proficiency dice instead of the +2, they would add their ability score to a D4. And that creates a variable for how good of a skill check are they having right now. And that D4 doesn't really mean anything other than variables. So when I DM, I like to leave the fixed proficiency bonus of +2 at first level, +3 at 5th level, etc. And when you're commanding multiple NPCs, troops, hirelings, or like ballista crews and Spelljammer, the Bastion die replaces the proficiency die, because that Bastion die, that variable, is representing how well your team is coordinating together. If on a D8 they roll an 8, they're in sync, in tune with each other as a team. If they only roll a 1 on that D8, they are completely at odds with each other, and that can color the narration of how, in Spelljammer, for instance, how a battle goes as your siege crew fires siege weapons. They're either clicking or they're not. They're fighting the siege boss, or they're following out his commands before he even has to say them. It's like, that's a neat variable that exists inside of there. So as you take on additional facilities that provide more dice for you to roll when you're making a particular type of Bastion order, you keep the highest result of those dice and you add it to the rank of the Bastion plus your D20 roll. So the D20 roll is basically your luck die on how the fate's favoring you in this task, and then that Bastion die, that proficiency die, you can throw, like in some instances, up to 5 of them, and you keep the best results. Like if you're 4th rank rolling, you would then be like rolling 5 10-sided dice and keep the highest result and get rid of the rest of them. So it'd be like a D20 plus 4, because 4th rank, and then like a 9 or a 10 probably, certainly an 8 to 10 on that die roll. So it's actually D20 plus 12, and at best it has to be a DC 30, so you'd still have to roll an 18 to hit top marks. But you only need a 13 for a 4th rank task, which is on par with what your rank is in a Bastion, 4th rank. So that 13 point, like for a 3rd rank task, it would only be a DC. You only have to roll an 8 on a 20-sided die. If you had like an 8 or above on a D10 plus the 4 that you get from that. So you see, the more dice you throw, the more likely it is that your team is going to overcome the luck of the draw that came off of that D20 pretty quickly. So it's a fun system. It works really well. I use it in a lot of the different types of game systems that I like to use at my own DM's table. So I know it works well, and I'm intimately familiar with it, and it's a lot of fun. So you can check out my books down below, especially the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration book. Check out the combat session with siege weapons. That's a really fun combat use of it, while this is again, you're commanding hirelings in your facilities to like make something for you. And then you go off on an adventure. When you come back, your crew made it. And if you've got a large crew in a well-built workshop, they could be like rolling a D10 or a D12 on top of +5 for their rank. And anyway, there you go. So that's how it works. So each order requires a D20 test to determine how well the order is carried out, called a Bastion check. A Bastion check is a D20 plus rank of Bastion, plus a Bastion die equal to the rank of the facility. So I could have like a 5th rank Bastion, but I may have just installed like an observatory. So right now that observatory is only 1st rank. And each Bastion turn, I can upgrade the observatory until it gets up to 5th rank. But that's like 5 turns. That's 5 weeks. So if I need that observatory in the meantime, it's going to operate like with a D4, D6, D8, D10. Eventually it'll be a D12 with my +5 Bastion bonus, right? So that's the mechanics. So that's why it says equal to the rank of your facility, because your facility always starts at 1st rank, and then you have to spend an order to upgrade it. So like if I have 2 orders at 1st rank, and those 2 orders is install this and that facility, those are all the orders I get. I'm done. If I only need 2 facilities and I'm still 1st rank, and I've got 2 orders that are open, like say I'm a shoe shop, I've got a workshop, and I've got a guild hall membership. So I'm combining those 2 together as a leather worker in the leather worker guild. I now have 2 facilities that synergize with each other to roll 2 dice when I'm crafting stuff that involves leather working. So I'm going to be really good at that. So I can issue 2 orders to the workshop and to the workshop to create things for me. That like I need an adventurer's kit, and I need a ton of rope, because we're going to go spelunking down into that dungeon we were talking about earlier. So like those are 2 things I need to have built. So I'm going to issue those orders to my crafting shops, and since those are basic items, I only have to roll a 10 or better because they're common items. And then if I'm rolling 2 4-sided dice and keeping the best result, +2 plus a D20, chances are I'm going to roll a 3 or a 4, so that's a +5. I only got to roll a 5 on the 20-sided die, and I'm going to make these things. If I fail the die roll, then I'm going to have to figure out like what went wrong. So we'll randomly roll on the tables down below what went wrong with crafting the adventurer's gear and a shitload of rope. Maybe we don't have access to the supplies that we're supposed to have access to. Well, if that's the case, then we need to establish a new trade route to be able to receive the materials that we need to be able to build stuff. In the meantime, we have to spend gold on this stuff or wait until we can craft it ourselves. And that could become a separate adventure before you actually go delve into the dungeon. What's going on with our supplies is our merchant in trouble. Maybe when we randomly roll on the table that's in the document further down, maybe we find that he's being scalped by poachers, and so they're taking all his stuff, and he can't proceed forward because he lost his horses and his cart. He walks home. So you haven't gotten the supplies that you're supposed to be getting, and now you're aware there's a bandit that's prowling on the roads between you and your supplies. That becomes your adventure. Clear out those bandits. Maybe those bandits, as a DM working these things in, the team wants to go to that dungeon they found during their scouting mission. Maybe those bandits have notes or a map to the dungeon. Maybe they were at one point using that dungeon as a base of operations, but they had to leave it because they dug up a Balrog or something, and now it's too dangerous for them there. So if your team is successful in commandeering the bandit, they can not only get their merchant back online, win favor from the settlement nearby that's supplying the outcropping communities, so you've gained favor there, and now you can get some intel about that dungeon you wanted to check out, and now you know why your paladin felt like it was so evil when you were in there. It's like, there's something really evil in here. It's like, yeah, the bandit's like, yeah, there's like a Medusa thing down there. is horrible. And it's like, oh, well, that feels pretty evil to me. Let's equip ourselves with a bunch of mirrors so that we don't have to look at the Medusa. And so we get saving throws on our bonuses, right? So now that we've reestablished the trades with our merchants, we can now build or order, like through trade, get a bunch of mirrors, or in our workshop, craft a bunch of mirrors so that we can set up ways of attacking the Medusa without threatening to get ourselves turned to stone. Like that's a neat progression for like a 3-week venture of first going into the hexes and crawling and finding out what hazards there are and diving into what you found was a dungeon, but feeling that there was some evil there and let's find out more about it. Leaving that area, preparing yourself to go spelunk. In the meantime, you're doing research, and then your supplies got cut off because you failed your die roll. So your research check succeeds, but your crafting check failed. So the research went through like you wanted. So you get to ask a couple questions to the DM, and he'll answer truthfully. But first, you resolve that merchant issue, and then you get this. So the DM gives you this map, and now that you have this map, you can ask the bandits about it, and that can wrap into the research questions that you had coming to you. And the way that research works, we'll be getting into it. God willing, we'll get to it. But when we do, basically research is, depending on how high of a die roll you get, is the number of questions you can ask about the topic you were researching, and the DM will answer truthfully. So if I roll like a 20, if I roll a 22, that's going to give me 3 questions that I can ask about that dungeon. So I'm going to first hit the bandits. They're going to give me the map, and they're going to say, yeah, we found an evil monster down there. It turned half our guys into stone. And you've got 3 research questions you can ask from your research, and now the players know a better way to frame that question. Is there any legends about monsters that were at the bottom of this location or in the folklore in the area? It's like, yeah, there's this Gorgon demon that turns people into stone and eats their calcified bodies. It's like, okay, that's a weird petrifying monster. Let's get mirrors like we were just talking about. I've got 2 questions left. And whatever the players are inspired to ask, they can ask the DM, and he'll provide that information to you. And that is the result of your research during your turn, because you had 2 orders that you could issue to your Bastion. You decided to craft a bunch of material, and then you did a bunch of research on the dungeon. The crafting failed, so you went and did the adventure to clear up the way to get your merchant back to you. And since you did that, you get the equipment that you wanted. So now you got your 7,000 feet worth of rope, and you've got adventuring packs. So now you can go spelunking this chasm underground that you found. And now you've got information that there's petrifying creatures down there, and you have a map of it from the bandits that you beat up. So now you can decide to spend an extra Bastion turn to craft a bunch of mirrors so you can keep yourself safe from being petrified, and have another order freed up. Maybe you can do like more research to see if you can dig out more specific information about like the Gorgon that's turning things into stone. That becomes a separate research topic. And since you've got the time, because you're building the mirrors, let's just take the extra week and get this extra information. Now maybe you'll have advantages on survival checks and perception checks involving that creature once you get down into the dungeon. Or the DM rewards you with a number of inspiration bardic dice they can add to saving throws or ability checks, or just D20 tests in general when you're exploring this Gorgon's lair. So that's what Bastions could do for you to facilitate your characters going on adventures. And in this example, the Bastion system created 2 adventures: the dungeon itself, and then the bandits that you had to resolve to get the supplies that you needed to explore the dungeon. So it's building the campaign out of the responses and decisions that you're making from the world around you that's being introduced or invited you into through the Bastion Orders that you are issuing. So that's the frame of how the Bastion campaign works. So the difficulty, we're looking at crafting here. Let's get through that. We did that 2 sessions ago. We did empowering magic items 2 sessions ago. We did harvest last session. Harvesting is gathering materials that you need to create to make non-magical items. Crafting and empowering magic items, you have to get the materials necessary. And you can do that with harvesting if you have access to a settlement like that like raises animals or has some sort of a mine, like a diamond mine or a copper mine or an iron mine or whatever. And then like a plantation or an orchard or a swamp that can harvest plant material from. You use these materials, this vague term material, to create items and magic items. Like if you want to make plate mail, you're going to need minerals. You're going to need for the armor. You're going to need plants for all the padding and connective material inside of the armor, and then animal for the straps that tie them all together. But the DM could say, like, well, you know what? You guys raise giant ants for food and milk, so you can when an ant dies, you can harden its carapace into steel-like plates if you like playing Dark Sun, for instance. So you don't actually need them. You just need a specific animal material, but it's like that's like a rare material instead of common. So it's more difficult for you to get access to it because you have to have a kank farm on hand. But you can modify what materials are necessary based on the type of things that the characters want to harvest from monsters and stuff. There's like, oh, I bet I can make like poison out of this. It's like, cool, let's make a poison for that phase spider, for instance. Then you would do a crafting check and all the things that you do inside the book here to make poisons. And now, or you could be like, I want to make a specific type of poison. Well, that's going to require this rarity of plant or animal material. Do you have a pipeline established that can provide that level of rarity? No, I don't. Well, you either need to find a settlement capable of harvesting that material for you, or you need to be able to use the trade order to basically purchase that material through someone who does. And a harvest order has the disadvantage of requiring a settlement to provide that material. But the advantage is that they could be poor. It doesn't matter what type of a lifestyle they have. They could be dirt poor but still harvest, diamonds. You can still harvest diamonds from the ground even if you're ridiculously poor. There's a big problem called blood diamonds in the world. Look into it. About really poor people excavating really expensive diamonds for rich people to purchase, and they're in it's like cobalt mines. It's horrible. So, but the difference is in trade doesn't require a settlement, but you have to maintain a lifestyle level equal to the material. Like if you want legendary status material to make legendary magic items, you have to be maintaining an aristocratic lifestyle with a DC check 30 to be able to have access to that level of material, because that's how wealthy you are. You can get this type of material. That material could be available to you in a poor community that's, an enslaved kobold mine, extracting exotic opals for you to be able to make, your gem of true sight with, or you have to trade at an aristocratic level to get someone who already has access to this opal mine. So you see how you have these differences in narrative. So you can try to negotiate the lifestyle down to get access to a material, or you could just raise the lifestyle of the settlement that's providing materials to you for you to be able to work out circumstances that work better for how you want to run your bastion and how you get access to materials. But the bottom line is there's those two paths to getting materials, and once you do, you can craft items and you can make magic items with them. But you have to establish those trade lines to be able to get access to that material. And that becomes that can become a very deep geopolitical game for your characters of like, I can't get access to this diamond mine because the hobgoblins control it and they hate me. So I either need to negotiate or slaughter the hobgoblins to take control of the diamond mines, but now I have to protect the diamond mines because the orcs and the hill giants want it. I didn't know the hobgoblins were holding them at bay until I was knee-deep in the conflict, and now I'm like, crap. So now you can see a cascading consequences from you trying to get access to a resource so you can make stuff. You see how that works out? Fun. And it kind of works that way with research, and it's just, anyway, we're getting into it. So last session we dealt with harvesting and how that system of acquiring materials through settlements work. And we'll be working with settlements on how to develop and improve settlements in a later episode, probably next week. So right now we're on the maintain task. So finally we get to work. At the beginning of each turn, the Bastion is issued. At the beginning of each turn, the Bastion makes a maintain at the beginning of each turn. At the beginning of each bastion turn. At the beginning of each bastion turn, the maintain order a free. How do I word this? At the beginning of each bastion turn, the bastion makes a maintain order check. It makes a maintain order without expending and makes a maintain bastion check without expending an order to determine the quality of lifestyle of the bastion until the beginning of the next bastion turn. And so here is the lifestyles that are listed in the player's handbook in DMG. And here's the difficulties that you roll. So when you make your maintain check, it's going to be a bastion check, which means you're going to use the die associated with the rank of your bastion. So if you have a 3rd rank bastion without any facilities that grant bonus dice to maintain to the maintain check, then you're going to roll a d20 plus 3 plus d8 because you're a 3rd rank bastion, and depending on the result you get, that's the level of lifestyle that you're going to maintain for the facility for the bastion until the next bastion turn. So if I rolled a 25, I would be able to, for instance, trade and get access to a 4th, like a very rare level of quality material to craft magic items and stuff with. And if I can succeed on the die on that DC 25 die roll to get access to that material, next turn it doesn't matter how crappy my lifestyle gets because I already got the material that I needed, and now I can instead just make my my empower order to start making that magic item that I wanted. And that'll have its own cascade of consequences. But if I don't hit that 25, then I create a complication that if I don't fix the complication, I have to give up on getting access to that material and potentially have to go on an adventure to find it. Or if I can maintain that lifestyle, then next turn I could try again. Or if I issue an order for my bastion to fix the complication, it's going to eat a 2nd order. So the trade order to get the material, that failed. Okay, well now I'm going to, when you roll the order, you're going to roll each order in turn. If you fail the die roll, you then decide if you're going to issue an additional order for your guild, for your bastion to go resolve the complications. So 1 order requires 2 die rolls that could still fail before you continue issuing additional orders. Or if you have spare bastion points that you keep as a battery, you can spend bastion points to issue additional orders. So you can issue additional orders up to twice your bastion rank. Like you can do like a 1st rank bastion can do 2 orders, and then you can spend an additional point to order 1 additional order. But that's your cap because you're only 1st rank. Once you get to 5th rank, you get 6 orders naturally, and you can spend up to 5 points to issue 5 additional orders because you have the resources available to basically have your facilities working around the clock is basically the narrative that goes on there. So that's how that works. So if you have enough resources that you've socketed away equal to the amount of orders that you can issue, then every time a complication arises, you can spend a bastion point to automatically issue an order to try to resolve it. So it becomes you're basically self-funding any kind of complications that arise. And the ones that don't get resolved then can become adventures. But if there's one thing in particular that's jumping out at you as that would be a fun thing to do right now, let's go do that, then you become the one that resolves the complication like we were talking about earlier. So the maintain order, again, we have to maintain a level of quality to be able to to be able to trade for materials of an equal level. So poor is basically first rank, lifestyle, and we should put in here rank of effective rank is what we want to call that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because not only do you use your lifestyle to determine what rank of material you can purchase through trade, but it also determines the CR, or rank of NPCs, monsters, specialists, and troops that you can recruit to help you in your facilities or in armies or as sidekicks on adventures. So if you want a high CR creature like 14, it's like CR 14 and above, you have to be maintaining an aristocratic lifestyle to impress upon that creature that you are important enough. You can afford their unique abilities and services at the level that they deserve. A CR1 orc, like a half CR orc. A poor lifestyle, sun. Yub nub, sounds good to me. I get fed? That's great. I'm willing to die for you. Like that's how an orc would think. They're below a CR1, right? So it's you have up to CR1, up to CR5 is second rank, up to CR9 is third rank, up to CR13 is fourth rank, and anything that's CR14 or above is considered fifth rank. So as you get to these higher ranks of facilities, and you can hit these different levels of these different lifestyle levels, you can attract higher rank or higher CR creatures. And if you were to take them on, like if you take your brass dragon ally on an adventure with you, it would be converted into a sidekick up to your character's level. So, and it could be either a spellcaster because it's a dragon, an expert because it's a dragon, or a warrior because it's a dragon. An orc would probably be an expert, unless it was a shaman, in which case it could possibly be an adept. So you can convert monsters into sidekicks using the sidekick system variant rules in the DM. It was Tasha's guide. Tasha's Cauldron had the sidekick variants. You can convert any creature into a sidekick of a corresponding level by converting its rank into its level. So again, character levels: first rank, second rank, third rank, fourth rank, fifth rank, first, fifth, 9th, 13th, 17th level. So if your characters are 13th level, they can't get a creature above CR9 to be their sidekick, even if they can maintain even though they're maintaining, say, a comfortable lifestyle, which is what you need. For a higher than CR9 creature, you have to have a wealthy lifestyle, effectively fourth rank, but your characters are only third rank. So you don't have enough clout and status. Even though you've got the money for it, you don't have the clout to get that CR13 creature to hang out with you. So you're limited by your character's effective rank and getting corresponding, like their CR is always trailing your character's level so they aren't outpacing you. And then you convert them into a sidekick equal to your character's level, or if they're a lower rank, whatever, like if they're like a second rank wizard, it'd be like it'd be level 5 to 8, and like say you're level 13, then it would be like an 8th level adept. Cap out the rank that they're on below yours. If you had a bunch of first rank sidekicks with you and you're 9th level, then they're going to cap at like 5th level warrior, 5th level adept, 5th level expert, whatever. But they're still sidekicks and they can do shit for you. So if you're into that style of play and your DM allows sidekicks, this is an easy path to be able to convert basically any creature that you stumble onto. Is like, hey, kind of like in Paul Kidd's Temple of Elemental Evil, when the Sphinx in the Temple of Elemental Evil had the riddle to choose which path you would go on and what kind of traps you would face. In the Paul Kidd novels, her name was Enid, and is that right? Yeah, it was Enid, E-N-I-D, and she was bored. She was a Sphinx. It was her job to sit there. It might be years before someone else came along, and she had to ask her one riddle and that's the only interaction she could get for years, and she hated it. They're like, well, why don't you quit? And she's like, what do you mean? It's like, why don't you come with us? Be adventurers. We think you're pretty cool. Come along. So they recruited the Sphinx, and so she ditched the Temple of Elemental Evil, and she was a main character throughout the rest of the novels. It was fucking hysterical. But she was a Sphinx. Like, she was like 12th level, so that would be like 10th level characters, and so there you go. That's appropriate. That worked out. So let's see. Where are we at? Oh yeah, okay, so maintain order, lifestyle, you roll for it, you maintain it. In addition, okay, and if you can't, and if you roll below poor lifestyle status, you create a complication. Your facilities, your bastion is so ran down that people are literally just stealing shit from it or squatting in there, like they're like day squatting, or monsters are starting to lair in your workshops. Like, what the hell? It's because you've maintained your facility so poorly that it is literally becoming squalid or wretched. If it's a poor lifestyle, at least you can keep the doors locked. You know, so you're not doing great, but you can at least keep the doors locked. So in addition, so complications, and again, you roll on the table below to see what your complication is. When rolling a Bastion test to determine the quality of lifestyle, when rolling a Bastion test to determine the quality of lifestyle maintained for the Bastion, if the result lowers the quality than the previous Bastion turn, a complication occurs. And the Bastion cannot gain a higher quality of lifestyle until that complication is resolved. So not only is being squalid or wretched create a complication, but if I was comfortable and now our status downgrades to modest or poor or, heaven forbid, squalid or wretched, that unto itself creates a complication. And again, there's a complication table at the bottom of the document. Here, I keep talking about it, so I want to show you real quick. Let's just bounce down there. Because we'll be getting back to this in probably 2 weeks. We'll be going through Bastion events and complications again. So there's a D20 you can roll for the nature of events that happen at your Bastion turn. This, like what was I just talking about? Lifestyle goes shit. That's a maintain roll. So I'm going to roll a D20 to see what the theme of our event is today. This Bastion turn's theme is all about number 5, and it's for the Bastion, not for an army or settlement, just our Bastion. We rolled a 5, which is labor loss. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Hirelings strike or quit work. Lose 1 order per turn until you have new recruits. Basically, well, that sucks. So if we were a 3rd rank facility that would normally have access to 4 orders per turn, because this is our theme, we now only have 3 orders that we can issue. And then on top of it, we just failed our lifestyle check. Our lifestyle degraded by 1 degree. Hold on, where am I at? Here. Right, we just rolled and we had a comfortable lifestyle, and we just, like, let's say we rolled poor. We just created a complication because our quality of lifestyle just slipped. And what happened? Well, we know for a fact this turn that we lost labor. They quit. So our lifestyle goes on and a bunch of people say, fuck this, I'm out of here. Or you can narrate it as a bunch of people quit for some reason, and as a result of it, your lifestyle slipped because they're not selling, they're not producing, they're not selling as much material. You're missing people. You can't create the same level of wealth that you had. So it becomes a problem. Now, this labor loss demands that you recruit new people. So you're going to have to burn a recruit order to get more people back because you are literally missing people. So that becomes the complication that you have to deal with. On top of you just took a hit to your lifestyle. So that's how that you can see how that can create a cascade of consequences and decisions that your team has to make about how are they going to recover the people that they lost. You're going to issue a recruiting order. We'll get to that in a minute. Furthermore, if a Bastion has a lifestyle lower than poor 3 turns in a row, the Bastion bankrupts, and the number of Bastion points that remain is equal to the minimum number required for the next lower rank. If a Bastion is already 1st rank, the Bastion loses all value, and hirelings effectively destroying it. So, and we know from the front end of this document, and again, this document, it's still playtesting mode, so, and it's read only. But this is the document that I'm using here. So you can click on this and this will take you to the document if you're interested in looking at it. Again, it's read only. It's just there for training purposes. It's not the actual book. It's not the actual language that's going to be in the book. Once we actually finish how this thing's supposed to work, we'll clean it up, send it off to an editor, and when they send it back to us, we'll start doing the artwork for it in the mornings like we do for our Eberron adventure. So if you want to see my artwork, check me out in my morning streams Monday through Friday, and then we do design like this in the evenings. So looking at the Bastion, we know that there's 5 ranks I've been talking about, and the rank of your Bastion is determined by the number of Bastion points that you have. Bastion points act as experience points. They act as mana, like a resource that you can then spend to either get extra orders like we were talking about, or to purchase additional facilities like we were talking about. So the Bastion points are your resource for maintaining facilities, like you would maintain a buff on your character, like a spell. It's also like Bardic Inspiration dice in that, well, it's like Inspiration dice that allows you to re-roll, and it can be used for additional orders, and it also acts as hit points. So, like it was saying here, if I have a wretched or squalid condition for 3 turns, then I basically lose a rank of Bastion. So if I was 3rd rank with, say, 26 points, I'm going to drop down. I'm going to lose 6 points, become 2nd rank instead of 3rd rank, and that's going to strip away any facilities or spare. Like if I had a spare pocket of points, those are going to be gone. And then, or I could keep that pocket of points, but like get rid of my workshop and my blacksmith. It's like, fuck. So it's going to cost you if you fail. So it's worth your time to try to make sure that there's ways to keep your lifestyle up. Mainly like resolving complications is a really useful way to start. But so if a Bastion lifestyle is lower than poor for 3 turns in a row, the Bastion bankrupts and it automatically degrades down 1. If I was already 1st rank, I lose all my points and that Bastion is gone. I have to start a new one from scratch. And again, there's point value, there's gold piece values associated with each rank. So at 1st rank, it only costs 1,000 gold to get 10 Bastion points at 1st rank. But then that 11th point that you want is going to cost you an extra. So like it's 2,000 gold to get 11 points, and it'll be effectively 11,000 gold by the time you get to 20 points. But then if you want 3rd rank, that 21st point is going to cost you 10,000. So you've already spent 1,100 gold. Now it's going to be 2,100 gold here. And by the time you're done, it's going to be up to 100,000 gold that you've spent on 10 points at 10,000 gold piece value each. So for you to get the 4th rank, if you want to purchase a point, it's going to cost you 100,000 gold. That's the kind of money that characters sling around at 13th to 17th level. So instead of trying to figure out how am I going to give you 100,000 gold, I can instead reward you a quest with like 2 or 3 points. So that's how you can convert, like you can get all the gold out of the economy, but still allow your characters to scale up to afford these crazy things, because at some point they get to a certain level of power that the value that they get from their time isn't just a pocket full of jewels. It's, I need a new wing on my castle and 30 new dudes to help man it. Well, here you go. You helped us get rid of that dragon. We can certainly afford to give you some new resources. That's how the game evolved in Beckme. That's the kind of mentality that they had. But now here in 5e, this is producing a means of narrating that resource and getting gold out of the equation, because you just don't need it. At a certain point, you don't need that. You can make your own magic items with effort. You can make any equipment that you need with effort. You can make ships and spelljammers and anything that you want, new keeps and castles, because you can expend Bastion points to create these things as crafting orders, or like guild orders to go out, like the Mason Guild, to start building you a new castle, for instance. So this gets you off the gold. Off the gold currency and into Bastion points, which are basically like favors or resources that kingdoms or high-level NPCs that have access to vast resources deal and trade by expending Bastion points. See how that works? There you go. So complications arise. You see how that was, and you can see that we have. That was just the Bastion turn. So we had a complication arise because we lost wage. So the theme of our adventure, of our issues this week, is labor loss. And so we've been saddled with needing to recruit more hirelings, so that's an order we're gonna have to spend to recruit more people. But on top of it, we now know that it is hireling strike. That's our theme. So let's actually go down to our complications. And this was a maintain order that we issued to maintain a lifestyle for our Bastion. As you can see, there's 7 types of orders. So the maintain order created the problem. We can't roll a maintain order solution because you can't solve a problem with the same people that caused the problem. You need something else. So we're going to roll a d6. Hey, Pat. So I'm going to roll a d6 to determine the nature of the complication that we rose for degrading our lifestyle. I rolled a 4. So 4, how about that? Recruit. Hirelings of the Bastion are being kidnapped for ransom. Issue the recruit order to hire hostage. So I could either issue a recruit order to hire hostage negotiators to recover the hirelings, or I could create an adventure to rescue the hirelings. There's also the dark side of it, which is we don't negotiate with terrorists, and you leave those hirelings for dead, and you just replace them with new hirelings altogether. So you can just decide not to deal with this complication and instead recruit new hirelings. Because again, as we rolled up above, the event for this season, for this Bastion turn, the event was number 5. And that was labor loss. Hirelings strike or quit work. Lose 1 order per turn until you get new recruits. So we're down in order, so we can't do as much with our facilities. And this is because we lost a level of lifestyle on a bad roll. So we lost a lifestyle, so that caused a complication. So we have to roll on our complication to generate the event that goes on with that misfortune. And look how well that's folding together. People went on strike. The DM would be at liberty to reframe this as a maintain order, since we rolled a 4 of recruiting, and we know that they're being kidnapped. So it's not that they quit and they hate us. It's that we lost our hirelings because they were kidnapped. So instead of they quit because our lifestyle went down, it now gets converted. It's now flipped. It's our lifestyle went down because someone's stealing our people. And that could become an adventure for your characters to find out who's stealing our people. And then on top of that, you also need to recruit more people. So if you can resolve that complication as an adventure, you'll find your missing crew, get them back, and then whatever adventure stuff happens over the course of an adventure. But the end of it is you get your recruits back, so you resolve the complication, and now you can have your crew back. And that's the end of your week. Next week, you're going to roll, again, the lifestyle. You're going to make a lifestyle check to see what lifestyle level you're at. And if it goes down again, you're going to have another complication. But if it goes up, everyone's happy. No problems. Hey, what's up? I love this. Hey, thanks. I just combined 2 level 6 parties by giving them a combo Bastion and do 2 players moving. And I want to really incorporate the Bastion into their next arc. Well, again, this is just a playtest document. So it's read-only, but it is available for you to look at and take inspiration from by clicking this playtest document link here. And if you want to use this in your campaign, here's my Discord server, free access to it. Jump in, then go down to the Bastion channel and say, hey, I want to use this in my campaign, and I will help you answer questions if you need. Because I've been running it in a Spelljammer Eberron campaign for about 8 months now, and I think it's going great. But it would be nice to have other DMs running it too, just to shit test myself, to make sure that I'm not blowing smoke up my ass. So, I mean, I'm the DM that's creating it, so obviously I'm going to make the system work. But you can really get proof by having somebody else run it. And even if they don't run it 100% the way that I would run it, if they're generating stuff from it and it is inspiring them in their campaign to embed their team into the campaign world more as a result of this progressively generated narrative system, then that's a home run for both of us. So, hey, yeah, Spelljammer represent A. Right on, my guy. I love Spelljammer. If you aren't already aware, I built a Spelljammer combat and exploration document here. Again, this is all my stuff is 100% free preview. This is 107 pages of converting Spelljammer ships into the 5e combat system that you already know. And hey, Francois. Yeah, so basically, when you're a pilot of a Spelljammer ship, it's as though you were druid shifting into a colossal-sized creature that happens to be your ship. So you can do melee attacks, and on your back, you've got all these ballista and like siege weapons that you can attack other ships. So it's like throwing two kaijus at each other that are grappling and attacking each other in 5e combat at 1,000,000 miles per hour speed, like literally 1,000,000 miles per hour speed, hurling through space or the astral sea, while you've got gun crews on the back firing shots at each other or jumping across deck at each other. But it all happens in the 5e combat game engine that you already know. Because like if you're looking at, and I'll get back on task here in a second, but you said you like Spelljammer, so I have to geek out about it. Here's our Spelljammer tokens that are included if you buy it. These are 50-foot squares. It's like the Nautiloid is famous. Nautiloids are 200 feet long, so they're 4x4 at the 50-foot scale. This is a colossal-sized creature at the 50-foot scale. If you were to engage in melee combat with it, and say you had a squid ship, which is a 5x5, it's 250 feet long, your 5x5 ship could engage in melee combat with the Illithid Nautiloid, but both of you could engage in ranged combat and high-speed combat at the 500-foot scale. So here's the 500-foot scale, where everybody fits in one square. Here's the 50-foot scale, where you can see ships capable of engaging in ship combat, and then fighter craft like TIE fighters are 40 feet. TIE fighters are 35 feet long, and X-Wings from Star Wars are 45 feet long. So fighter ships fit inside 50-foot spaces. So, but if you zoom into the 5-foot scale, here's your ships. This is the same model that I have, the same token that I used over here. I just zoomed in to the 5-foot scale, and you can do that like in Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds, any VTT tabletop. So you can have these ships operating at the 500-foot scale, the 50-foot scale, and then you can zoom in just by zooming in on the resolution of the tokens that I provide to the 50-foot scale, or to the 5-foot scale, and you can see here there's troops that are disembarking from this warbird that landed on the back of this hammerhead ship. So now the hammerhead ship if the pilot would have to use an escape check to end the grapple that this warhawk has on its back, so that it could start attacking it again without having disadvantages on the attack or potentially pursue it. So you can do fleet combat. It's got all this. It just converts everything into the 5e game system that we already know. And depending on what your crew is doing, here's the action economy that you use each round. If you're a pilot, here's how you use the different pieces of of combat interaction. Like you've got verbal commands, object interactions, actions, attacks, bonus actions, and reactions. If you're commanding crews of siege weapons, also verbal interaction. There's like no interactions that you use for this, but actions, bonus actions, reactions. Squadrons, if you're commanding squads of ships instead of sets of siege weapons. Here's all the actions that you can take with different pieces of action, and you can mix and match them. So you can be the pilot of a ship, and you could be commanding a squadron of fighter craft on your wing, and you could be, throwing a spell with your own fingers, like cantrip, and move action with my fighter craft, and dash action, and then as a bonus action, squadron, fire at that TIE fighter, that kind of shit. It's just the action economy stays the same. And your character just breaks it up between the 5-foot, 50-foot, and 500-foot scale of combat, depending on what type of things you're interacting with. And it works really smoothly. If you have a virtual tabletop, they're big enough that you can split up your map into different areas. Like this section over here will be the 500-foot scale, and you have your ships navigating one square at a time, like 5-foot square, then dash action for another 5 feet. And then if they're like intercepted with each other and boarding each other like pirates across the deck, then this part of the map is going to be at the 5-foot scale. Let's drop our ships in there and then have our tokens kick around. Or if you're in real space, all the zoomed in maps are on 10 by 10 grids, 10 inches by 10 inches, which conveniently fit on the back of most pizza boxes. So I recommend that you take a pizza box and then break it up into a grid of 10 by 10, and then use your ship tokens in those squares at the 500-foot scale, and then you can do cutouts of the tokens. You can zoom them in so that like the hammerhead ship is like 5 inches by 5 inches, and then you can print that as a 5-inch token to put on your larger like 32 by 24 Chessex map. And then you could also, on your TestX map, like a separate map, you could have your 5-foot scale if you're doing barding party stuff. So you can have like 2 pizza boxes, 10 by 10. That'd be like a 50-foot space on your hammerhead ship. So like this section, like you put gun turrets at the front of it, and then you put the cargo hold at the back of it, and bam, that's your hammerhead ship. Or you grab a different pizza box. This is my star moth pizza box. And then so you can have pizza boxes set up, so every time they move to a different section of the ship, you can just lay down another pizza box and then have them proceed through there. So if you guys are pizza eaters at the live table, keep your pizza boxes, because the bottom of the pizza box and the top of the pizza box both can be converted into 10 by 10 grids, which you can then use as ship maps or large-scale 500-foot warcraft or fleet combat maps, while you keep your chess 32 by 24 for characters moving at the 5-foot scale in dungeons and shit. So anyway, check this thing out. It's 100% free preview. It's got over 100 assets like asteroids, maps. It has a full conversion guide for Light of Xeraxis, so you can run Light of Xeraxis using this combat system. I converted all the ship combat challenges and actually added a couple more. So there's a lot of variety there for you to play with it. And once you get the groove of it, it's really easy to create your own adventures. I actually ran Descent into Avernus using this system, where instead of where all the Mad Max Infernal War Machines, once they got to the Hell Wasps, spoiler alerts, once they got to the Hell Wasps, they started having Mad Maxine basically take the Wasp's wings and Dr. Zhivago them onto the Infernal War Machines, so they became VTOL hovercrafts. They like fly like mosquitoes, so they all became flying fighter craft using the scaling combat system. And we broke El Terrell. It's a mile in size. It's like 1 mile wide and like 2,500 feet across. So it's like a 10 by 7 square grid at the 500-foot scale, and we could break up each 500-foot scale into a different section of the city that they could defend against demons. So at one point they had a siege crew that was able to hold off the demons on like three of the 8 chains that became their strong point. Then the players came in with VTOLs and started clearing out imps, and it was cool. So once you get how that system works, and running Light of Xeraxis with the stuff in the back of the book teaches you how to set things up and how to balance combats so that you can start creating your own combat missions, and then utilize those tools in other campaigns that you make up from there. So Light of Xeraxis becomes a training kit for you to learn how to run Spelljammer combat using this book. So, oh man, I really love how that book turned out. That was a really cool book. Massive tangent. Sorry, everybody. Geeking out about Spelljammer again. I love Spelljammer. Spoiler alert for people that don't know. In the new year, I'm planning on running a Storm King's Thunder campaign on my Discord in Spelljammer, where instead of the Storm King's Thunder flying castle, it's going to be a dwarven citadel with a mecha hangar. And your job is to protect different asteroid communities from kaiju attacks from space in like 30-foot mecha suits, like Evangelion or Gundam style, to build out, and using the Bastion facilities of hangar bay, workshop, and an armory to enhance the armor and spell capacities and abilities on your mecha suit, to then get to launch from the Storm King's Citadel to attack the kaiju. And as a result of it, you're protecting the resources of the different communities that you're supposed to protect. And so a Bastion-style campaign is going to be, there's like 8 communities, and how many of them have a problem right now, and which one do you want to prioritize, and what's the consequences of you having to neglect 2 of them, and like the other ones you like relegate to your Bastion to resolve, like sending off a squad of mecha to go fight that kaiju. And as an ability check, like as a Bastion check, did they succeed or fail? They failed. Crap, well that's a complication that we have to resolve. So we'll be building a unique set of complications and Bastion events that fit the theme of a Spelljammer Storm King's Thunder. And it's just going to be like an XCOM 2 story game. You go and you protect things, and as a result of it, you tax them, so you get Bastion points for free from the communities that you're protecting as a payment. and you can create different trade relations and set up different resources so you can craft more stuff. And as you gain more and more control over these asteroid communities, they become your settlements under your control inside of your Bastion system that you can then decide how are they built. And now you're doing like a Civ 5 sort of game where you're managing the resources of each of the communities to help make the community as the cluster stronger to resist these kaiju that are coming on. So you're militarizing and buffering all the resources of the communities that are there to be able to survive kaiju attacks, so that your team can then focus on the really bad point. Like what's the biggest problem that we have to deal with right now, because you're getting them to a point that they can become self-sufficient and look to you as their leader. So that's the theme of the campaign. That's the goal that we're going for. So I'll be doing that. I'll be looking for recruits that are interested in playing, and if we're lucky, we'll be able to work like a West March campaign where we have multiple mecha teams. So if there's like 4 complications, there could be 4 separate teams that go fight different kaiju at different locations. And depending on the success of your mission, we'll be able to pull more resources back in based on the objectives of that mission, XCOM style. So, yeah, that's the idea. Not my Spelljammer. I have server gnomes do that for me. Nice. Good, man. Let's see. So, back on task. The whole point of this was we were talking about lifestyles, maintaining a lifestyle for your Bastion. I'm on tangents today, guys. Don't mind me. So it's a lifestyle. We just resolved that if your lifestyle drops, it creates a complication. And if your lifestyle is squalid or wretched with a really shitty DC, that creates an additional complication. And that you have to maintain a certain level of lifestyle to be able to trade for materials. So if I want to make a very rare magic item, I need to have access to rank 4 materials, which requires that if I'm trading for those materials, I pay for those materials through the lifestyle that I maintain in my Bastion. The lifestyle role gets rid of all the math involved with running large economic models in a fantasy world. I'm stealing that from modern D20. There was a wealth ability check that you would make. If I wanted to buy a Lamborghini, the DC would be a 25. And if I could hit that 25, then congratulations, I can afford the Lamborghini. But depending on what level of mastery I had in that skill, it would reduce my effective bonus to my skill check for X amount of weeks or whatever, until I had an adventure that had a big score, at which point I'd be able to regain the bonuses to my wealth roll. So this idea is like 2004, like 3rd edition Wizards of the Coast modern D20. It's very old school. But again, what I do is I take old 3rd edition, 4th edition, 5th edition ideas, and I recalibrate them to work inside of the 5e game model. These are all the things that they left behind, that if they had looked back and saw these things, they could have brought them into 5e and provided these answers for you, just like I'm producing now. So I like to think, if I was working for Wizards of the Coast, this is the kind of stuff that I would be doing, trawling their old records of old mechanics they had, and looking at how I can bend them into the 5e game engine to run campaigns or to simplify gameplay for either the players or the DM, to be able to create new scales of combat, new narratives, new styles of game. So, if I was working for Wizards of the Coast, this would be my dream job. But they don't answer my calls, so I'm just gonna do it anyway and just put it on the DMsGuild. So, cheers. So extending lifestyles. While maintaining a lifestyle is determined each Bastion turn, which is typically 1 week each, a Bastion can expend additional Bastion points to sustain a lifestyle for a longer duration without having to issue an order or rolling a new maintain check. This is really useful. This is why you want to have spare Bastion points laying around that you haven't automatically just spent on facilities. You want a pocket of these so you can stabilize your economy. So, hold on. I caught a Kraken and animated. Holy crap, that's awesome. I wired zombie gnomes into its brain to better autopilot. That's fantastic, man. I love it. A Bastion can only sustain a quality of lifestyle equal to or less than the result of than the last result, than the current lifestyle of the Bastion. While sustaining lifestyle, you can choose to issue the maintain order in an effort to increase the quality of lifestyle maintained. If you succeed, you can spend additional Bastion points to then sustain the new quality of lifestyle. If the result fails to increase the quality, you're still going to sustain the current quality of lifestyle, but a complication still occurs. But you're not other than generating an event that requires some sort of actions or adventure to resolve, which is the whole point of it, to stimulate adventure seeds through tragedy. But you're not going to lose the status. You're not going to lose access to material that you're trading because you're investing the points. Equal to or less than the current lifestyle. I'm going to take this and drop it down here because that seems to make the most sense. While maintaining a lifestyle to determine each Bastion turn, which is typically 1 week each, a Bastion can expend additional Bastion points to sustain a lifestyle for a longer duration without having to issue an order or rolling a maintain check. Rank of Bastion point determines duration of sustaining the lifestyle, and cost of Bastion points is determined by the degree of lifestyle maintained. And the number of Bastion points required. No, that's not the right way. And the rank of lifestyle determines the number of Bastion points expended to sustain it, period. So the rank, this is going to be Bastion rank. And this is going to be called lifestyle duration. Take your time with timer. And then the Bastion lifestyle determines the number of points it takes to sustain. We're going to say points to sustain. So a poor lifestyle only requires 1 point. But poor is all you need to make sure that your Bastion doesn't go bankrupt. So that's going to help make sure you stay stable. But at first rank, it's a little expensive. Anything higher than that, it gets kind of daunting. So you probably are always going to want to have a spare point laying around to maintain at least a poor lifestyle. If you don't have a single point laying around to maintain that, you are way overclocking your resources. You need to reconsider how you're distributing. But then, like, you get up to aristocratic. If you can hit the DC 30 needed to reach aristocratic, it's a good idea to spend the 5 points if you have it, so that you don't have to worry about it so soon. Now, keeping in mind, at first rank, you can't maintain a lifestyle for more than a week, and each Bastion turns a week, so there's no point. If you're first rank, there's literally no point in sustaining a lifestyle because it's going to have to get re-rolled anyway. But once you get the second rank up, it gets better. It's 1 month, which is typically 4 Bastion turns at second rank. A season, which is 3 months or about 13 weeks or 13 Bastion turns. And then a year, again, that's 52 Bastion turns. And then at 5th rank, once you're a 5th rank Bastion, if you put in those 5 points, it's permanent until someone sabotages it. And we'll get into sabotage later. But sabotage, like we were talking about earlier, Bastion points are treated as both a mana pool to expend on facilities and die rolls. And here you can see you can sustain a lifestyle by expending Bastion points, right? So now you can see how valuable these Bastion points can be. But they're also your hit points. So if somebody attacks your Bastion and you take 7 Bastion points worth of damage, do you want to keep all of your facilities and just get rid of your sustained lifestyle? You now have an unstable economy because you're at war. You have all your facilities still, so you haven't lost any production, but you're not certain what your economic status is going to be like next month. And doesn't that just makes sense when you're at war or under siege. Or you could sacrifice like your laboratory, your workshop, and your armory and keep your lifestyle, but now you've lost those facilities. So you can't repair your armor. You can't spy on your enemies to find out what their next actions are going to be. And you can't repair, and you're going to have disadvantage of repairing your walls or whatever because your workshop's gone. So you have these disadvantages. You're losing out because the facilities are disabled, but at least you maintained your lifestyle. So you don't have a mutiny on hand as well. So you can see how, and so sabotage specifically attacks something of your choice. So if it's a siege and you take damage, the defender gets to decide what they lose. But if it's sabotage, you're going in seeking out to destroy a specific facility or a resource. So I could go in and sabotage your lifestyle. And now you have like that'd be like effectively like the US government is claiming Google as a monopoly. And as a result of it, it may force Google to break up into a number of smaller entities and create competition in the marketplace. That could be framed as the US government as a Bastion entity attacking Google as a separate Bastion corporation. And Google just fucking lost. So it just took like 13 points of Bastion damage, and now it can't maintain its lifestyle, and it lost its governing capability over its different IPs. They now fraction off and become their own companies. And now Google as a corporation has to recover its lifestyle and start rebuilding its facility resources to get back to the level of control that they had, while now new rival Bastions are also trying to gain access to that space at the same time. And now the US government is done with their operation. They back off and they reallocate their DOJ resources to whatever the next monopoly is they want to knock down, maybe pharma, God willing. So, but you can see how you can frame almost anything inside of this Bastion point system, because a Bastion could be a castle, it could be a workshop, it could be a guild, a church, or an entire religion. Waterdeep will be, like the entire city of Waterdeep will be one of the Bastions that we develop as an example. Your Spelljammer ship can be a Bastion. Your Spelljammer fleet can be a Bastion. The Rock of Brawl is a Bastion. Saloon, the Moon Saloon, is a Bastion if you want to frame it that way. So you can frame anything in the game at different levels of Bastion, overseeing different types of facilities, settlements, or entire armies, like the Blood War. The Demon Army can be framed as a series of 5th rank armies under the operation of the Abyss as the overlord Bastion. That's like the Abyss is the infinite plane with infinite resources, but they can only get so many to one place at a time. And they have a lot of complications in the form of self-destructive behavior or rivalries. And then the devils have the same problem. Like even every devil prince could be considered its own 5th rank Bastion, with all of its generals cascading underneath it at 4th or 5th rank. Eventually you get down to the Meriliths that are like 4th rank, and then you get down to like the ice, like the Mesoloths, which are like 3rd rank, and all the way down to Mephits and Dredges, which are 1st rank creatures. So you can build this scaling army system using this cascading ranks of leadership through the Bastions. And you'll see all of that when we get into the army. But armies attack generally, and the defender decides how they lose things. And sabotage, the attacker chooses what resource is lost. If I want to take out your spy, like your spy center, so you don't know what our troop movement is, I'm going to sabotage your observatory. And if it was like a 4th ranked observatory and I tear it down to 0, it's going to take you 4 weeks to get it back up to the rank that it was before. There's only 1 rank per turn. So it's going to take you a whole month to get that thing back up and running again. In the meantime, I can run all over the board and get myself into any positions that I want and attack you because you're blinded. It's like, that's a fun way to run military, right? So that's the resources. So I moved this paragraph to the bottom because it felt right. So now that you understand the Bastion rank is how long you can maintain a lifestyle, in the Bastion lifestyle determines how many points it takes. Like a first rank Bastion, if you could, it's impossible to hit a DC 30 at first rank. At best, you could become comfortable. But even if you did, again, it's going to expire in a week. So if you're, once you get the second rank, which only takes 2,000 gold, it's pretty easy to achieve. 2,000 gold, and you can upgrade anything to a second rank Bastion that'll allow you to maintain a lifestyle for a month. So if you got to this comfortable level of lifestyle at second rank and you had 3 points available, you could lock in that comfortable lifestyle for the next 4 Bastion turns. And when that expires, you now need to roll again, or keep the, you have to roll again because you've reached the end of your line. Only the 5th rank Bastion can maintain it forever until it gets broken. Like Google in that monopoly situation, Google has been dominating the market for 20 years. Only now that they're being sabotaged or directly their monopoly is being attacked is their lifestyle unstable and it's unsure of what their profits are going to be on the market next year. That's a great example of it. So, a Bastion can only sustain a quality of lifestyle equal to or less than the current lifestyle of the Bastion. While sustaining a lifestyle, you can choose to issue the Maintain Order in an effort to increase the quality of lifestyle maintained. If you succeed, you can spend additional Bastion points to then sustain the new quality of lifestyle. If the result fails to increase the quality, you are still sustaining the current lifestyle, but it creates a complication because you tried. And that's the Maintain Order. So we're going to go through and we're going to look at each of the facilities and each one of them that notates Maintain Order. So let's drop down here. There's 34 facilities that are listed in the book. And in addition, we don't have it written up yet, but we will be writing up how to design your own facilities. Because again, a facility can do 3 things, and there's 3 different categories of things that can be done: benefits, downtime activities, and orders. There's 7 different types of orders that can be issued. There's any number of downtime activities or benefits that could be added, but we have a framework of like the effective character level of benefit or the effective spell level of benefit that you can bestow onto your Bastion or your characters through benefits or downtime activities based on the rank to level comparison that we were talking about earlier with sidekicks, for instance. So we're going to go through all the 34 facilities and look for instances where it has the Maintain Order. So let's look for one. Most of them don't, so some of them will. Like you can see here, the auction house, it has a benefit that lets you roll extra dice when you use the trade order. And it has 2 orders specifically on its own that are also trade. So you can, I need to get rid of that mark. And then I need to get rid of that mark. There you go. So you can do 3 things with any facility. And if you want to do more than 3 types of things, you need more facilities. So the basic facility is when I issue the trade order, I can roll an additional die. And the unique orders, the orders that you can issue is trade. So you're going to roll 2 dice. With whenever you're doing a trade order through the auction house, you can roll 2 dice automatically and use the best result. But the auction house lets you do all sorts, like convert Bastion points into gold. Be able to like effectively gamble a Bastion point to potentially gain an extra Bastion point. It can be used to acquire magic items, like specific magic items that you want for different DCs. And then obviously it creates complications if you fail, and the DCs aren't necessarily easy. So cheers. But yeah, those are the 3 things. Those are like the 3 things that you can do with an auction house. If you like this trade order here and you want to combine it like with this basic facility, these basic facilities here, you could make a new type of facility that blends archive with auction house. I don't know. I don't know what that would be like. I have no idea. But you would then make a theme that describes what that facility is, and then that could be something that your team can invest points into. So let's look at the barracks. Barracks has a recruit order. Crypt has recruit order. Where is... Does anything actually issue the Maintain Order? There's a chance the answer is no, that there's nothing that actually issues the maintain order, because the maintain order in general is passive. Research, recruits, craft, research, empower, harvest, craft, empower, craft, empower. No orders at all in the sanctum. Craft, empower, harvest, craft, empower, trade, recruit, empower, craft. Okay, so there's literally nothing actually issues the maintain order, but every bastion can roll a maintain order for free. Once we get into the armies, conflicts, siege, and sabotage, you'll see that you can issue the maintain order as a repair as well. So if you want to repair your facilities, if your facilities grant you extra dice, hold on, let's go look for that. Hold on. 1 second. Yeah, here we go. Theater. When issuing a maintain order to determine the lifestyle of a bastion, you can roll an additional bastion die equal to the rank of the this facility. So if you have a theater in your bastion, if you're like, say, if you have a third rank bastion and a second rank theater in that third rank bastion, when you're checking when you're maintaining your lifestyle, you roll a d20 plus 3 for your bastion rank, plus a d8 because you're a third rank bastion, and a d6 because you're a second rank theater. Obviously, first d4, d6, d8, d10, d12, 1 to 5. So you'd roll a d6 on the theater and a d8 as a bastion, and whichever one of those two dice has the higher result, you add that to 3 and your d20 roll, and then you compare that to your lifestyle result, and that tells you what your lifestyle is, which again determines the rank of creatures that are willing to stay at your facilities, and it also determines the quality of material that you can get for crafting and creating magic items. And that's maintained. So, but we don't have to worry about repair. We don't have to worry about the repair order until we get into sabotage, sieges and sabotages. So we'll get to that eventually. But that resolves the maintain order. So congratulations. It's only 8 o'clock. I finally got through all that rambling. We've been at this for what? We've been at this for an hour and a half. And that's not horrible for a fill, but I've got more in me. So I feel like I can push on a little bit further. So let's stay on track. And we're going to go through recruiting now. And with God's grace, we'll get this done. I also do this on Tuesdays, and so I do Mondays and Thursday nights like this. I also do Tuesdays and Friday at lunch. So typically at 2:30 in the afternoon PST minus 8 UTC. That'll be in what? It's 8 o'clock now, 4 till midnight, 16 hours till noon, 18 and a half hours from now. I'll be back on, and we're going to work on, if we don't get recruiting done in the next hour, then we'll finish it tomorrow. But if we do finish recruiting tonight, then we're going to work on research at lunch tomorrow, because researching is really easy. And then Thursday, we'll work on trade, and if we get through trade, we can start working on governing bastion, and we can start working on like settlements and structuring bastions to act as the government that oversees the settlement. So we'll get into that, and then we'll probably be working on that till Friday, which probably means on Monday, a week from literally right now, we'll be able to get into armies and how to build armies to fight each other and different bastions and settlements as siege warfare, or have a small team sabotage specific elements of an army or bastion. So that's I'll probably be doing that on Monday, and I suspect we'll be able to flow with that through Thursday. Maybe on Thursday we'll start working on events and complications, and once we get through those, we can start working on examples and start building stuff with this, and start looking for the connective tissue that we need to build it into a final product to send off to an editor to get rebuilt. Hey, what's going on, Francois? He made a workshop producing hallucinatory terrain VR headsets enchanted with soul gates. Ah! It requires shooting up a proprietary psychic drug that was addictive and toxic. I trained the trap souls too. Oh, that's awesome. A creature from the far realms has assisted my ritual to animate the Kraken. Hey, that's super fun, man. Love it. Okay, so that's how maintain works. Pretty self. We should probably put some notes in here. The lifestyle you maintain determines the rank of the rank of hirelings you can recruit and the quality of material or items you can trade. That's actually pretty important. But we already looked at that in harvesting. We already made note of like the lifestyle you maintain is the quality of harvest material you can harvest. We were specifically mentioning that you don't need that for harvesting. Excuse me. But the rank of the rank of the settlement will determine the quality of item that they can produce. So you could have a poor lifestyle in a 4th rank settlement capable of producing very rare plant materials or animal materials, or mining 4th rank like very rare quality minerals that you can use to construct these high value magic items or equipment. So while you don't have to maintain any particular level of lifestyle, any rank in particular as a Bastion, as long as you have the lifestyle that you need. But if you're really low rank, it's going to be really difficult to hit the difficulty, the DC that you need, the target number for these higher rank materials that you need. 20, 25, 30 is difficult for a 1st rank Bastion. Anyway, there you go. So recruiting. You can issue the, you can issue the recruit order to attract new hirelings or creatures to ally with the Bastion to assist in carrying out orders issued or to defend the Bastion from siege or sabotage. Recruiting hirelings. Guild Hall, things that you can use to recruit hirelings. Guild Hall, meditation chamber, training area. When the DC to recruit is based on the when the DC to recruit, what does that mean? I think that's a bad sentence. The DC, okay, I think it's probably supposed to be just the DC to recruits is based on the level of the sidekick, which cannot exceed the level of the character. Recruiting hirelings. The DC to recruits hirelings is based on the level. Let's go with recruiting sidekicks. And we'll have to check Guild Hall, Meditation Chamber, and Training Area. Hey, what's up? I have an underling that's effectively Mark Zuckerberg, and he's running a type of magical Facebook I use to keep people distracted and misdirected from my machinations. It involves sending stones. Nice. You're running an Eberron campaign, right? Am I remembering that correctly? Let's check out these facilities real quick. Guild Hall. Guild Hall. Recruit. You can issue issue the recruit order. You can issue the recruit order to attract an expert sidekick as a hireling that can also accompany your character on adventures. The DC to recruit is based on the level of the sidekick. Bastion rank, sidekick level, order DC. There you go. And the DC to recruit is based on, so you can issue the recruit order to attract new hirelings or creatures to ally with the Bastion to assist in carrying out orders issued or to defend the Bastion from siege or sabotage. Recruiting sidekicks. Guild Hall, I think the Meditation Chamber will probably reflect this as well. Recruit. You can issue the recruit order to attract an adept sidekick as a hireling that can also accompany your characters on adventures as detailed in the Issuing Orders section below. That feels like different language from the guild hall, so I'm going to go back up to the guild hall. I think I like this language better. You can issue the recruit order to attract an expert sidekick as a hireling. They can also accompany you on adventures. The DC to recruit is based on the level of the sidekick. Let's replace that. Expert is the only word that we need to replace. Attract an expert sidekick as a hireling that can also accompany your characters or on adventures as detailed in the Issuing Orders section below. Period. And Forgotten Realms guy. At least one. Oh, right on. Cool. Big respect. Guild hall, meditation chamber, and training area. Going down to the training area. Training area. Recruit. You can issue a recruit order to attract a warrior or expert. Nice. Boop. To attract a warrior or an expert or warrior sidekick as a hireling, because experts are either skill monkeys or like low budget rogues, like stealth monkeys. Skill monkeys are stealth monkeys, while warriors are sword monkeys and adepts are spell monkeys. So monkeys everywhere. So experts being recruited through training area makes sense as like a dexterous stealth monkey. And in the guild hall, it makes sense that you could recruit experts as a skill monkey. So the DC to recruit is based on the level of the sidekicks, which cannot exceed, let's see, recruiting sidekicks. You can issue the recruit order to attract a sidekick character that is both a hireling in your facilities and can accompany characters on adventures with DM approval. The DC to recruit a sidekick is based on the level, based on its level, which cannot exceed the level of the character. The rank of the Bastion determines the maximum level sidekick that can be attracted as a hireling the DC is based on its sidekick level, which cannot exceed the level of the character. So first rank Bastion, it only takes a DC 10. So let's go with hirelings. As you improve the rank of facilities, additional hirelings are required to carry out let's see, excuse me real quick, there's wording here I want to play with. The rank of a facility 1 second. Yeah, as when, there you go. When the rank of a facility increases, the number of hirelings required to carry out orders of the new higher rank increases. To recruit, a recruit order is issued to attract hirelings capable of carrying out these new, these higher rank orders. The rank of the facility determines the difficulty, determines the DC required to recruit suitable hirelings. Suitable hirelings. Rank DC. Now you see why you could have a 5th rank Bastion but have a 2nd rank Theater, because you can't hit above a DC 15 to hire better hirelings than 2nd rank. You can't even get hirelings for 3rd rank yet, much less 5th. So you're trying to hire people, and the best roll you get is all you get. You could take 5 weeks to build out your theater to 5th rank before you bother recruiting anybody. And then when you roll your D20, whatever, if you get a result that's like a 15, or if you get like a 15, now you have upgraded the theater to actually operating at 2nd rank. If I rolled a 24, I can bring it up to 3rd rank. If I rolled a 28, I can bring it up to 4th rank, but I still need to hit that 30 or better for my theater to actually operate at 5th. Once hirelings are attracted, they remain with the facility unless a specific complication occurs that takes hirelings away from the facilities. So once you get them, you keep them. A recruit order is issued to attract hirelings suitable. Let's see. When the rank of a facility increases, the number of hirelings required to carry out orders of the new higher rank increases. A recruit order is issued to attract hirelings capable of carrying out these higher rank orders. The rank of the facility determines the DC required of the recruit suitable hirelings and the minimum lifestyle required to. The rank of the facility determines the DC and minimum lifestyle required to recruit suitable hirelings. Period. Once hirelings are attracted, they remain with the facility unless a specific complication occurs that takes hirelings away from the facilities, even if the lifestyle for the Bastion decreases below the quality required to recruit them. So once you get them, you get to keep them. They're on board with you. They know your potential. They're there to help you maintain it. That's the narrative that goes with that. So We're going to go with Bastion rank, DC, and then we're going to go with lifestyle required. Poor. Modest. Comfortable. Wealthy. Aristocratic. So you see how that lifestyle, that maintaining that lifestyle becomes more and more important as you gain higher ranks, because you got to equip these places with people that are competent enough to perform at the level of skill required to be able to produce legendary magic items or similar things. You can't take you can't take a guy that trolls like that basically like mortars walls, and that's all he does, or like breaks rocks. All he does is break down rocks in a quarry. You can't expect that dude to be able to build a castle. He just doesn't have, he might be a very low rank mason helping break rocks down well, but he doesn't know how to assemble them into something defendable or useful. So like that's the language that goes on between the ranks, and we might have to provide examples of that kind of stuff as we go throughout it to get that narrative across. I'm imagining all sorts of little boxes appearing on the sides of these different text blocks, like little examples, like multiple paragraphs of like different types of examples of like how this applies to different type of character builds and stuff. Hopefully it's because there's no limit to how far down the rabbit hole you can go with this structure. It's just such a clean, simple 5 ranks, 5 DCs, 5 levels of quality. Each level of quality has a certain dollar, like gold value associated with it, or magic item rarity, or spell level, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for different ranks. And you got for like spell levels 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 5 ranks. Like it's just so elegant. It's a real shame that 5e didn't just really, like, what would be so awesome about this if they really just embraced the idea of 5e? It would be that they built the whole thing around 5 ranks, because that's what we see here with the proficiency bonus progressing at 5 tiers. The 5e could really mean characters built in a 5 rank frame of narrative. Like all these stuff that I build, it's all built around 5 ranks. All the Spelljammer stuff, all this Bastion stuff, the army stuff. Man, the martial power system is by 5 ranks as well. It's the whole, that's fucking cool. I never thought of that before. 5 ranks, 5e, it's fucking cool. It's just, it's awesome. So once hirelings are attracted, they remain. Recruiting sidekicks. The rank, a recruit order. Issued to the Bastion a recruit order can be issued to the Bastion to attract hirelings capable of carrying out these higher rank orders. Period. So that's a basic order. You can issue that, or it's like the maintain order you issue to the Bastion. A recruit order, the rank of the facility determines roll 1d20 plus Bastion rank plus Bastion die equal to the rank of the Bastion. That's horrible language. We'll improve that. And any additional facility dice Yeah, because just recruiting hirelings is a general task that any Bastion can perform because you have to put butts in seats to make the thing work. So your Bastion can maintain a lifestyle, your Bastion can recruit hirelings, but then we have special shops that can recruit sidekicks, right? So you can issue the recruit order to attract a sidekick that is both a hireling in your facilities and can accompany characters on adventures with DM approval. The rank of Bastion determines the maximum level of sidekick that can be attracted as a hireling. The DC to recruit a sidekick is based on the sidekick level. The DC and lifestyle required to recruit a sidekick is based on its sidekick level, which cannot exceed the level of the character. So Bastion rank, sidekick level, DC order. If the check fails, create a complication. Ooh. To recruit a sidekick is based on its sidekick level, which cannot exceed the level of the character. Bloop. Create a if the DC fails, if the roll fails, create a complication. Let's create a complication. Those are fun. Because that's what it's all about. Making complications to generate adventures is literally what this is all about. So we're looking to recruit. Let's be special. Let's say we're using our guild hall to recruit an expert. And let's say, I don't know, let's roll. I have a 3rd rank Bastion. So I'm going to recruit a new hireling for 3rd rank, and I just failed my check. So I was trying to recruit an expert into my facilities, and I failed the die roll. So let's go to recruit. Let's first check what our Bastion, like the event would be the same, right? Last event that we had involving the merchants, that event was a 5 in which we lost labor, right? No, this was we failed our maintaining lifestyle check, and our lifestyle degraded, which created a complication, which became losing labor, which we then rolled our complication, which was people were being kidnapped. So our kidnapped people disappearing caused us to lose production, which caused our lifestyle to slip. Hey, what's up? Mad scientist, you killed someone important. So we're trying to recruit a new expert, right? So this is going to be a new turn. So let's roll a new event to see what our new turn is all about. So I'm going to roll a d20. And I rolled a 13. Lucky number 13. What do you do for us? Mercenaries. And it's a Bastion. So the theme of this week is soldiers offer to protect the Bastion in exchange for improvising a barracks. Huh. Okay, so basically you've got soldiers that are willing to squat. So you were trying to recruit, and you recruited some experts for your hireling. So these soldiers show up, and they're interested in squatting here, and you're looking for recruits. So these soldiers that show up, maybe they could be your hirelings if you can resolve the complication. So now let's go down to the recruiting table and see what our complication is. And interestingly enough, this is a bunch of these are what, a bunch of mercenaries. Let's look at that again real quick. Lucky 13. Mercenaries, soldiers offer. Let's do it like this. Mercenaries offer. Okay, so we have mercenaries that are offering to protect the Bastion in exchange for improvising a barracks. So if we put a barracks into our facility, this would imply that we've already got troops for them. Okay, great. But we're trying to recruit experts for a workshop right now, right? So we want to upgrade our workshop. So we have mercenaries coming in. We're going to go down to the recruit table. And since this is a squad of mercenaries, we're going to be able to pull We're going to look at it from that sort of perspective. So let's roll a d6 to see the nature of the complication. I roll a d6. I rolled a 1. Craft. The target of recruiting demands better facilities or equipment. Well, then these guys wanted a bastion. These guys wanted a barracks in your facilities. So this naturally makes sense that when you cleared the complication was that you wanted to recruit new experts for your third rank facility, and you didn't hit the DC 20, so you created a complication because you failed. And the event was that mercenaries showed up, and the mercenaries said, yeah, we've got skills to craft and stuff like that. We could be hirelings in your workshop as well as soldiers if you build a barracks. So this turn, you now need to allocate points so that you can create a bastion. You might sacrifice a different facility and then rebuild it as a barracks because it's going to serve better purposes for you. Or maybe you have a spare point you've been holding on to, and this is worth it to you to expend to create a first rank bastion. Or if you have a third rank bastion already, you're not going to be able to get these guys on board with you until you create another facility, a second barracks, and start building that one up as well. Because you can have multiple facilities, the same type of facility. You can have multiple same facilities inside of your bastion, and each one is capable of having its own order issued to it. So like if I have 3 workshops, I can issue 3 different crafting orders that workshops can do because I have 3 workshops. So like at first rank, I could have 1 workshop at first rank, or I could have 3 workshops at first rank that can all be doing like more work. But I can only order 2 issues per turn, so my first rank bastion wouldn't need to have more than 2 workshops. But once I get the second rank, I could have 3 workshops, each of which could be second rank. So I could be just churning out all sorts of materials. So like if I need a bunch of adventuring stuff, I have all these different workshops that are creating stuff for me. So if I have a third rank bastion and these guys are like, yeah, I have third rank barracks in my third rank bastion already, and these guys are like, yeah, we need more barracks. It's like, okay, we're going to start a second barracks and we'll put that at first rank. That resolves them. Now they're willing to recruit on with you. It costs you the point. You already knew that was going to happen. And now you've got recruits. Now you've got recruits for the barracks. And you've got the mercenaries also now act as experts in the workshop. So you fulfilled both of those obligations with this turn. That was an easy thing for you to resolve. It just happens that things worked out for you that way and you're able to do it. But what if you rolled something different? I rolled a 4 this time. Maintain. The target of recruit demands a bonus reward. I could. Oh wait, there was a mission option here. So I could have expended points to, like, if I didn't want to make an adventure out of this, then I could have done that. That's how I could have resolved it. If I wanted to make an adventure out of it, I could go like instead. You want to make this an adventure? Okay, so instead of having to create a new barracks, they want you to steal the heirloom sword of Lord Penrath the Fallen, because their mercenary guild has a rivalry with them, and they will happily follow anyone that can defeat the Fallen. So now you're going to go look for Revath the Fallen, who happens to be a bandit chief now, who's been harassing merchants in the area. Maybe the merchants that you busted up to get access to that dungeon map, maybe they also know more about the Fallen, and they can they can point you in the direction that you need to go. So you could call on those bandits that you've beaten up before as a recurring information source for you to research through, to then give you the scoop about Revath the Fallen. And now you're going on a quest to go beat up Revath and steal his greatsword, and then mount that on your wall. That could be the start of your trophy room of villains that you've defeated to attract more followers. So there you go. Another adventure nugget got created. And maybe Revath has a book of maps of different dungeons that he hopes to delve someday. And he crossed off, or rather the map that you went on was torn out of his book. by the bandits that you dealt with earlier in today's episode. And so now you know where that map came from. You can connect the dots. He took it from Revath's book. Those bandits must have, you could then narrate that those bandits were once in Revath's squad, but they broke away because of, I don't know, whatever political reason your team is uptight about. Lean into the narrative. But this is all part of your prep. So you're prepping this stuff. What I do is when I run a turn, I'll look at the complications that could occur from the things that they've said that they're interested in doing, and when they make their Bastion check to determine the outcome of that order, I already know what that complication is going to be and how it could connect to the other complications that might be occurring right now. Because I'm going to pre-roll. I mean, I could do all this on the fly at the table with you, and we could make this like an episode of Microsoft of Microscope, and actually build all this out together as a group project where we're all chipping in ideas and narrating together how all this Bastion stuff plays out. And whatever die rolls have to go along with it. And the players are going to make those rolls as we go through the narrative and build this story out. But at some point it's going to get to, okay, well, what adventure are you going to make out of this? And then that, as a DM, becomes my homework. I go build that adventure. And then when we come back for our next session, let's get started on this adventure. This is where we're at right now. You know what's going on, and this is what you need to do. So here's some ideas about that. And they could already be looking at issuing orders and stuff. And so, like, you know that, like, if they're going to issue a research order involving with this, you're going to have an idea of what information they're going to get off of it based on the adventure that you built. And just look at the different types of orders that can be issued and determine if there was a complication with any of these, what are those complications going to be? And that starts to preload what your next couple what your next 4 or 5 sessions might be based on how events play out. But knowing these ideas makes that all happen. Or if you don't want this to be a collaborative experience, if that's not your session 0, they're like, yeah, just feed us adventures. It's like, great, well, this is going to be all of my homework. As a DM, this is when I get to play the game too. I'm just going to solo build a campaign world Civ 5 style and insert this scenario into it. And so we'll know, like, here's the results that you got. I'm going to go brew something with this. When I come back, I'll tell you what your next adventure is going to be. And then you're going to run with it. So that would be a session 0. Are we going to build this together in real time and roll dice and brainstorm this together as a team? Or are you going to make this more of a storyteller experience and have the DM do all that in secret so that you can hide all the things that could be discovered during the campaign that get revealed as they go through these different steps? So there's like 2 different narrative versus collaborative. You see the difference between those? They both work with this system. It's just, what style do you want? Which is a great session 0 question. Do you want this to be a collaborative story? Do you want this to be a collaborative world building experience together, where we're figuring out all these complications and then deciding as a group what our adventure will be? Or do you want to make the die rolls at the end of your last session, and then I take that and I build something from it, and I present to you maybe a default adventure, or maybe I give you 1 or 2 choices. What style do you prefer? And your team could, I've had teams that like both of those ideas. So, and they're very different types of campaigns. I like the collaborative ones more, but I also really appreciate being given the reins to just build something and to let them get surprised by things that they might not be expecting. That is also very satisfying when it triggers well and they start having these aha moments and like they start connecting dots and seeing how far down the rabbit hole they can get themselves before you basically run out, like how far can they go before I run out of content and I now have to improvise stuff, and how smoothly can I move into improvising stuff without them noticing it. Like, that's fun. And the first method, the collaborative, is they know you're improvising. We're all improvising together. We're just making it up on the spot and being spontaneous with it, with whatever mood catches us right now. So the tone could change, the depth of emphasis could change, the focus on characters could change. There's a lot more variables when it's a collaborative experience. But if your team is really, like, if you really want to get into world building, like the DMG implies Bastions are supposed to do for your characters, this method is far more, like, this is using this collaborative experience trains players to become DMs because it makes them think plot, narrative, connecting points, logical consequences to actions, and how those can lead to different adventure nuggets. So like you're prepping, like if you do that collaborative, you're basically prepping your players to become DMs as well. And if that's your goal, then that's the style that you want to run, obviously. So that's how that works. So now we're recruiting monsters. Menagerie and Planar Gate. So let's go look at the Menagerie and Planar Gate to make sure that is accurate. Planar Gate first, since it's closer. So that's how that works. So now we're recruiting monsters. Menagerie and Planar Gate. Planar Gate. Recruit. You can issue a recruit order unique to this facility to convince an extraplanar creature to aid the operations of your bastion or to act as a sidekick during adventures as detailed in the issuing unique order section below. Let's change that up. You can issue the recruit order to attract an extraplanar creature to act as an adept, expert, or warrior sidekick and as a hireling to act as a hireling that can also accompany your characters on adventures as an adept, expert, or warrior sidekick as detailed in the issuing order section below. There you go. And then the other one is Menagerie. 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 You can issue a basic recruit order to convince a local creature to aid the operations of your bastion or to act as a sidekick during adventures as detailed in issuing the basic orders below. You can issue the recruit order to attract an extraplanar creature, to attract a local creature, to act as a hireling that can also accompany your characters on adventures as an adept, expert, or warrior sidekick, as detailed in the issuing order section below. There you go. So that resolves that language. When recruiting monsters, the maximum CR you can recruit cannot exceed the rank of the bastion or the level of the characters if they are to join the characters on if they are to join them on adventures as sidekicks. If they are to join them on adventures as sidekicks. You can retain a number of monsters as allies this way, equal to the number of bastion points. No, we don't need to do that. That really doesn't matter. The DC and lifestyle required, and the lifestyle maintained. Yeah, lifestyle required to attract the creature. Let's go with recruiting creatures. The DC and lifestyle required to attract the creature. Level of the characters. The DC and period. The DC and lifestyle required to attract a creature is determined by the rank. When recruiting research, the maximum CR you can recruit cannot exceed the rank of the bastion. The maximum CR you can recruit is determined by the rank of the bastion which period. The CR is determined by the rank of the Bastion, comma, which cannot exceed. No, that's not the way I want to do that. For a creature, let's reword it like this: and a creature cannot exceed the maximum character level if they join them. Bastion rank, monster CR, recruit DC, so Bastion rank, maximum CR creature, recruit DC, lifestyle, minimum lifestyle, poor, modest, comfortable, wealthy, aristocratic. Thank you, Timely Timer. That's my 20-minute timer that's been going off all session. Every 20 minutes, it reminds me that it's been 20 minutes. So it's been 40 minutes since 2 alarms ago when I first said, hey, we finished the maintain order. How are we doing? So far, we're doing great. So we now have the Bastion rank, the creature CR, the recruit DC for that rank of creature. Character level, minimum lifestyle, there you go. If the roll fails, and then I'm going to put an asterisk here as always. If the roll fails, asterisk. If the roll fails, a complication prevents recruiting the target creature or a conflict arises between the new monsters and those already recruited. Let's drop that. The complication prevents recruiting the target creature. That makes sense. Recruiting soldiers. That's in the barracks in the war room. Let's check spy. Let's check the spy network as well, just in case. No, spy network does research. Okay, so we're looking at war room and barracks. War room's closer. Let's start there. Orders. You can issue a basic recruit order to hire a number of CR creatures to defend the bat. To hire, there we go. Facility benefits, recruits. Basic order to hire a number of soldiers to defend the bastion or attack a rival as detailed. Let's see. Recruit equals. You can issue the recruit order to attract mercenaries to defend your bastion or to act as an army. Or form an army to attack a rival bastion or settlement, period. As detailed in the issuing orders section below. Yeah, I think we can leave that there. And then we go to Barracks. Barracks. We're going to finish this. We're going to finish this by 9. We're on target today, my guys. Barracks. You can issue a basic recruit order to blah, blah, blah. You can exactly the same as War Room. But when it's barracks, it's just to defend your bastion, not to wage war. Nah, that doesn't make any sense. Let's just open it up. You can issue the recruit order to attract mercenaries to defend your bastion or to form an army to attack a rival bastion or settlement as detailed in the issuing order section below. Barracks and war rooms, that's what can do that. So let's go to the recruiting mercenaries. When recruiting soldiers, the DC of the order and the max amount of soldiers that can be recruited is determined by the rank of the facility. You must have sufficient... I don't know if I want to worry about that. Let's go to the end of the document where I've been collecting new ideas and a smoother means of recruiting. Recruiting soldiers. Let's see. Recruiting soldiers. The maximum amount when recruiting mercenaries, the number of recruits, the maximum number of recruits, the maximum number of recruits is maximum number of recruits is determined by the rank of the bastion. How about when recruiting mercenaries, the rank of the bastion determines the maximum number of recruits that can be recruited with one order. The number of mercenaries recruited determines the DC, the number of mercenaries determines the DC to recruit them, the number and minimum size of settlement to recruit from. So now we're starting to get into settlements. Maximum number of mercenaries. It can be recruited with one order. rank troop DC 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Okay, so if you have a third rank facility, you could have an army up to 1,000 troops. Mercenaries is the word I should be using. If you have a third rank bastion, you could recruit up to 1,000 mercenaries for your army, which would have a DC of 20. You could recruit 100 at a time for DC 15, and you could pull them from a smaller size settlement. So again, a Thorp is 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, and more than 100,000 infinite. The DC for 10 mercenaries, it's only a 10, and you have to be at least in a Thorp, the minimum size settlement that there is, to be able to recruit them. If you want 100 mercenaries, you could potentially pull them from a village, because a village could have up to 1,000 people in it. Obviously, logic will prevail. If you have like 150 people in this village, it's more of a bloated Thorp than it is a village. Let's be real. Or it's like a couple of Thorps that are like it's 3 separate Thorps of 50 people each, really. So like, use your common sense. But yeah, if you have a town could have up to 10,000 people, which means you could theoretically pull 1,000 mercenaries from there if you can hit the DC. If you can't hit the DC that you need, you could always just get less troops, but it will create a complication. So let's put an asterisk next to this, and then drop down here as usual. Bloop. And if you fail the Bastion check, you create a complication. Let's see. So I don't have to worry about barrack size and stuff like that. That's just now folded into the is that folded into the hirelings? Let's go visit hirelings real quick. Let's go visit the bastions first real quick. I don't have to worry about barrack size and stuff like that. That's just now minimum hirelings. Notice how you have to get 2 hirelings for each rank. So at first rank, I install a facility, and it requires 1 hireling. So I then have to spend an order to build the facility and spend the bastion point. And then I need to issue another order and not spend it doesn't require an extra bastion point, but I still have to issue the order then to get that hireling. And when I upgrade to 2nd rank, I can then put another bastion point into a facility to upgrade it to a larger size, but now I have to issue 2 recruit orders, both hitting DC 15, for me to get to actually get the facility up and running. So it's not just an issue of like 1 bastion turn I upgraded my facility. It's more like 3 orders. And if you can cram all those orders in without excessive complications, you can upgrade it in 1 turn. But if anything falls shy, it could take multiple turns for you to actually get the size increased, to upgrade the facility, and to get the recruits needed to oversee it. So there's the stepping process. We are not directly tying the number of mercenaries recruited in the army to the size of a barracks. That is worth noting, though. Let's see. If mercenaries are recruited to defend a bastion, a barracks is required with at minimum 4 squares for each recruited mercenary. That cleans up all of that bullshit. Because these sizes are the minimum to make a facility operate. 4 squares for first rank, but that's enough for a single soldier, because it's a 4x4 space, right? It requires 4 squares. A minimum of 4 squares for each recruit. So if I want to have 100 soldiers in my barracks, well, 5th rank would be the minimum amount, but 3rd rank, I have to have at least 36 to have a 3rd rank bastion, to have a 3rd rank facility. Oh god, it's 1,000 is my max. 3rd rank, 1,000. Okay, so that means I have to have 4,000. I need to have 1,000. 4,000 squares worth of space. 20,000 by 20,000 for 1,000 soldiers. 20,000 feet by 20,000 feet. That's roughly a 3-mile area. For 1,000 soldiers to have proper infrastructure and room for them to be able to function and operate, 1,000 people in a 3-mile area. Is that accurate? No. Hold on. That'd be 10,000 by 10,000. So that would be... Come on, Kearney. Why can't you remember? Is there 5,000 feet per mile? Yeah, there's 5,000 feet per mile. So that'd be basically a 2-mile area that we need for 1,000 troops. That's not crazy. That's not crazy. So okay, we're gonna tangent. We're gonna go take a look real quick at settlement sizes. That's not crazy. That's not crazy. So does settlement sizes correspond with this? Because there are minimum sizes that a settlement area will cover. Like a thorp requires this much area, a town requires this much area, village, city, blah. I went too far. Recruit, do we have... I thought we had notation about size. A 100. Okay. We can make sense of this. The number of mercenaries determined DC to recruit them, and minimum size of settlement to recruit from. If mercenaries are recruited to defend a bastion, a barracks is required with a minimum, at minimum 4 squares for each recruited mercenary. 100 is going to be 10 feet by 10 feet. That makes sense per character. That's reasonable. Ooh, nope. A bastion. If mercenaries are recruited to defend the bastion is required. Must have 4 squares. Must occupy. The bastion must occupy space. Must occupy a number of 5-foot squares equal to 4 times total mercenaries. For example, a bastion with 50 mercenaries requires 500. Requires a bastion 500 feet. A bastion that occupies 200 squares of space, or a 200 squares. That's a like or. Space such as a 4-story structure that occupies that's 1,000 squares. That's 250. A 50 by 50. 200 divided by 4 is 50 squares. 50 squares is 250. Occupies a 250 by 250 foot space. There. "50 mercenaries require a bastion that occupies 200 squares of space, such as a 4-story structure that occupies a 50 by a 50 square space, or 5, 25, a 50 by 200 foot space." That, by the way, is just about the size of a hammerhead ship. So let's go back and look again at the Spelljammer book that we had. Oops, that's the wrong document. Hold on real quick. This is a fun tangent. Spelljammer, Combat and Exploration, and click on the full size. So here's a hammerhead ship that's 250 feet long, and you can see it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So this is 6 squares wide and 50 squares long. That's 300 squares. So we could effectively put a mercenary squad of 50 mercenaries. They could fit, if we made this ship nothing but barracks. Like, this ship is for housing soldiers. That's all it does. It's just a pirate ship that floods enemy decks. We could have all 50 mercenaries occupy this single ship because it's 250 feet long and 30 feet wide. That's enough squares for one level. But there's 3 levels. If we look at deck plans elsewhere, we can see there's 3 levels on a hammerhead ship. That's plenty of space to be able to put 50 soldiers in and still have room for like a workshop to fix stuff and a pub to keep them entertained with grog and shit. The command center, the bridge would be a facility in a Bastion ship, for instance. The gun systems are each bastions as well, are also facilities. So that math actually tracks. That math actually tracks. That worked out pretty good. I would be happy to have a troop of 50 sailors on a Spelljammer ship. That would be plenty to be able to man all the weapons that are on deck. There's a ballista. No, there's a trebuchet, which requires 7. There's 2 catapults that require 5 each. That's 17. There's 2 ballistas that require 3 each. So that's 23. There's 5 harpoon flingers. That takes us to 28. And that leaves 22 soldiers open for as boarding marines. That's plenty good. That's a good fighting force. Yeah, I'd be happy with that. Absolutely. That would work well. So yeah, that math tracks. And if your army gets if your troop size gets too large, then you're gonna have to start spilling into, like, that was like for 50 troops. If I get to 500 troops, they're going to basically they're going to need to occupy a space equal to a thorp. But a thorp can only handle up to 100 people with all the infrastructure necessary. So if you're going to have, like, your settlement can have at most 100 people in it. So if you have over 100 mercenaries, you're basically creating all the things that you need to have a settlement for a thorp. So let's add that in. If the number of mercenaries recruited equals the population of a settlement, an equivalent size settlement must be maintained. Otherwise, the mercenaries must form an army to remain under your command, period. So if you don't have enough infrastructure for the amount of troops that you have, they will disperse and you'll lose them until they downsize to the size that you have. The interesting thing, we'll get into this in a few sessions, but the interesting thing about barracks and troops that defend your bastion is the resources and lifestyle of the bastion is something that you can maintain or roll for each turn, and the mechanics of that are just absorbed as just part of the process of controlling a bastion, because it's a stable location that generates materials and wealth. But an army that's on the move, each bastion turn, it destroys that number of bastion points. So if you've got a 10,000 man army, it's going to destroy 4 bastion points every week, just keeping the army mobile, because it's too big unless it occupies a town. If it takes over a town, it could then if it killed everyone in a town and replaced all of them, sure. But for an occupying force of 1,000 mercenaries to be able to exist inside of a community, it's going to have to be a city. You see, because 1,000 mercenaries on their own constitutes, it'd be a village. It's 100 and 1,000. Yeah, that would be its own village. So 1,000 troops would be its own village. If you had 1,000 troops, instead of being its own village, it could incorporate into a town. You're basically swelling the size of the town by an extra 1,000 people, but there's enough infrastructure in the town to take on those extra soldiers. So it could actually flood the area. But when you do that, you can stabilize yourself. You can establish trade with that settlement so that it pays for the bastion, for the mercenaries inside of that settlement. But when they mobilize and move out of that settlement to another area, every bastion turn that they're mobilized, they burn through, like they destroy that many bastion points. They could either settle in a town, or they could raid a town by attacking it and spend 2 actions. And you'll see this later, but you spend 2 orders. The attack order to damage the settlement that they're attacking, and they roll a Bastion die, depending on the size of the army. That's the die roll that they roll to deal that much damage. And then there has to be a separate order to plunder. So it takes 2 orders to plunder a community. One to attack it, and then the plunder order, however many points of damage that you deal to that settlement, you then take as plunder to then feed and to sacrifice to your army. So if you attack a city and you plunder 17 points from it over the course of like a 2-week campaign, and you have a 4th rank army of 10,000 soldiers, you've plundered enough from that city to downgrade it to a village worth of resources, and you fed your army for 4 weeks. So if it takes you 4 weeks to conquer that city, you're going to walk away with like an extra week worth of resources before you've already burned through it. You're like a parasite, like locust, just eating settlements. And that's a big problem with war, and that you're destroying the resources of the communities that are torn apart by war. You see how that works? They're being plundered and sacrificed as bastion point fuel to keep the army moving. And an army can just flat out revolt and break off into a bunch of smaller groups, which is where all these bandits might be coming from that are raiding the merchant caravans that we've already encountered earlier in today's session. These bandits could be the result of, Revath the Fallen? Maybe he had an army of 700 men at some point, and he got completely crushed and lost all his lands, and now he is a roaming bandit duke that has no property anymore, but has a number of troops that are still loyal to him. But as his resources dwindle, so do the number of people that remain loyal to them. And they start to disperse into these smaller bandit camps of like maybe 20 or 30 bandits in this 2nd rank army that only needs to pull 2 bastion points worth of resources from a caravan. Like if that caravan is sending 4th rank material to you, we talked about this early on in today's session when we were talking about harvesting, right? If you want 4th rank material, you have to establish a 4th rank trade line with a merchant caravan. So at any given time, that merchant caravan is effectively carrying 4 bastion points worth of material on it, that if it gets hit by raiders and that raider deals 6 points of damage to the caravan, it only had 4 bastion points worth of resources. It is destroyed, and they use the plunder mechanic to steal those points. That bandit camp now has enough provisions and resources to remain solvent for another 2 weeks. So they've got 2 more weeks for them to go find another 2 bastion points to stay alive for another 2 weeks. So every week that a merchant caravan gets hit by bandits, it's going to siphon off anywhere from 1 or more bastion points. Smart bandits that are just tithing you will be able to tithe enough merchant caravans to generate 2 points worth of, like 2 bastion points worth of materials from that caravan every week. And it's just a matter of time before these caravans get sick of these bandits taxing them for being on their road. So they're going to complain to the Duke that's now in charge of Revath's territory. It's like, hey, it looks like Revath's men are still harassing the economics of this region. We need you to take out these bandit camps. And if the bandit camps get word about this, they may band together again into a larger army to try to resist whoever comes after them. And once they do, they'll have to disperse again into smaller groups, so it's more manageable for them to chew on these smaller communities. Is this all making sense? Like a 3rd rank, like a town is 3rd rank. It's going to have 10, 20, it's going to have up to between 20 and 30 points of resources on its own. And since it's 3rd rank, it could be sending out caravans and it can have up to 4 orders. So if all it's doing is commerce, it could be sending out effectively 12 bastion points worth of resources from that town to neighboring communities every week. So there's enough bastion points to be able to maintain 6 different bandits that only need 2-point bytes to stay active. Anything up to 100 bandits can so basically that town through these trade routes could maintain 600 bandits in the surrounding territories around this single town, and it would completely destroy all commerce moving in and out of that community because they're eating all the bastion points. So it might be reasonable, hey, if you can get rid of these bandit problems, we'll give you 6 bastion points, because that's what we were going to lose next week anyway. Get rid of these guys and we will give you those points as payment, because now we don't have to worry about it anymore. And now you built a connection with that settlement to help protect them in exchange for potentially amassing more bastion points. If you've got a second rank bastion, 6 extra points could push you into 3rd rank. And the town could, their points are worth that much, because a 3rd rank facility, it's 100 points, 1,000 up to 10,000. Like, that's effectively 60,000 gold worth of building resources that they're giving you to create an army, or to enhance your own bastion, or to establish like strongholds or like lookout towers at the edges of the settlement, to keep an eye out for that in the future, to basically use those bastion points to help support and protect that bastion, that settlement in the future. And you as like, say, the new duke that replaced Revath, you're now establishing control over that territory by protecting it. So you can see how the geopolitics can continue to expand as you start going through this system, and you see these complications that arise, and they're creating these adventure nuggets that just naturally start building this environment that we have bandits in a dungeon and a fallen duke that you stole the property from that probably wants vengeance against you. So now he's attacking the settlements that are supposed to be under your care, basically putting a thorn in your side. So you start hitting all these little bandit camps, and they lead you back to where this is all coming from Revath. And Revath has a big book of dungeons that he bucket lists to go after, to plunder, to build his army with. So at any given time, Revath could actually be at some dungeon that he has a map for, and if you can get a copy of it, you might be able to ambush him in there to kill him. But he could be like your big bad up through level 9 before you get rid of him and something new steps up. But that could be a very tight level 1 to 10 campaign, to like Revath's Revenge or whatever. That would be a neat little campaign arc with like 4 or 5 little dungeons in them. You got the different bandit camps with their own problems around like 4 or 5 different settlements, and now you've got basically like a 100-mile area that is your campaign world from level 1 to 10, basically taming that region. And if you wanted to expand, then you could like expand that out. That was 100 miles. Now here's the surrounding 100-mile hexes around it. So you've got this one hex that's 100 miles. You now have locked that down. That's under control. And you're evolving as a character. So at the next tier, you're now looking at the surrounding hexes that are each 100 miles each. And if you complete that, you now have a realm that's 300 miles across. Basically, 7 hexes that you control in your formation there. So that's the curvature of the system. That's where it goes. So, but yeah, we've effectively resolved recruiting, and that was our objective. And it's now 9:15. I've probably been at this for like 2 some odd hours. I've been at this for 2 hours and 45 minutes. We hit our objectives for the day. We've resolved maintaining, and we've got enough meat on the bone for recruitment to work, and it's already leading us into the maintaining the army mechanics, which they're all curving out nicely. So I'm going to be back here at lunch in about 17 and a half hours ish. It'll be 2:30 UTC. It'll be 2:30 Pacific time in America, which is -8 UTC. But that's in about 12, 15, 17. In about 17 and a half hours, it'll be 2:30 in the afternoon, Seattle time, Tuesday, tomorrow. I'll be back on for lunch. During lunch, we're going to resolve research. And so that's recruiting. That's our objective, and maintaining for the lifestyle to help establish. So we'll take care of research tomorrow. And if it won't be efficient, of course, because I like to ramble on and provide examples and stuff like that, talking at you guys. But once we get through, but we should be able to, research is pretty short. So we should be able to get through it tomorrow. And then Thursday night when we come back, we'll knock down trade, and we'll start looking at settlements. We've already talked about settlements just now, so we already have an idea of how those work. but we'll be able to build on that and hopefully lock down the language for governing settlements. And 1 mile, 10 miles, 50 miles, 100 miles, 100 plus miles. Yeah, that all still makes perfect sense. So yeah, this is really, really good. We're in a good place. This is going really well. So we'll probably get settlements resolved on Thursday, and then that'll lead us down, and then we can probably spend. Maybe we'll take care of franchising. It's kind of the same thing. It's using your bastion to command other bastions, and settlements, again, can be framed as bastions, where the government is basically the commanding bastion, and the settlement is like a facility of that bastion. Except in this instance, the bastion sits inside the facility instead of the facility sitting inside of the bastion. Settlements are unique in that way. Just like armies are unique bastions in that they're mobile. And although they cover area and require a certain population, blah, 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 they're mobile. So if you, like, looking at our size of settlements, right? If you have a second-rank army of 100 troops, basically if you're within 10 miles of those troops, there's a chance you're basically in their area of effect. They're going to have a zone of control, like 10 soldiers. Like if you only have a mercenary troop of 10, which is first rank, they're going to have basically an effective scouting area of 1 mile. They're going to generally be aware of things happening within 1 mile of them. A second rank army is going to be aware of things happening within 10 miles of them. A third rank army, fourth rank army, fifth rank army, there you go. So, yeah, those are the ideas. Those are the ideas that we're playing with. So this is coming along really nicely. So yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to resolve research. Oh no, there's trade. I fucking forgot about trade. So we'll probably finish research on Friday. We might get started on trade because there's not a lot to it. It's pretty straightforward. But if we don't, we'll finish it on Thursday and then get into settlements on Thursday for sure. Potentially into Friday. Potentially starting armies on Friday. If not, we'll certainly be on armies by Monday. And then that will just lead us into sieges and sabotage for Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Maybe by Friday, we'll start building examples of stuff. And at that point, we're just working on connective. At that point, we're working on connective material and examples to build out the rest of this document for us to then be ready to send off to an editor. So I've got a couple editors I have in mind. I'm just waiting to see when this one's going to play out. Maybe a month or two from now, this will be ready to send off to editing, which should coincide pretty nicely to us getting close to wrapping up the Eberron adventure and having that published and taken off of our desk, so that it then Monday through Friday in the morning we'll start doing the book cover for the Bastion campaign, and off screen I'll start doing layouts for it when it gets back from the editor. I expect maybe another month or two for us to finish out the text in this, another month or two from the editor to kick it back to us, and then the layouts and the artwork begins. So by end of year, this should be in production, and this becomes our morning project. And we stop working on this in the evenings because we'll have a new book that we start working on, which will probably be at that point we'll be working on the Spelljammer Storm King's Thunder campaign. So maybe for a couple months, instead of doing book work, we'll start building out elements of that campaign, utilizing the system while we're illustrating it in the mornings. And this all sounds like it's going to curve out really nicely. And we're still working on the martial powers system. We're running a mega dungeon on Saturday mornings, and I expect that to conclude by the end of the year. So Saturday mornings will become the Storm King's Thunder Spelljammer campaign, where we're using mecha kaiju mechanics, which we'll then be able to flesh out. So probably the next book after this will be the Spelljammer Mecha Kaiju book that we've been building for Storm King's Thunder and other narratives. And then once we get that taken care of, the martial power system should be resolved, and we'll be getting into the updating the Color Mana Spell Point variant rules that we published in 2018. I want to update all that for 2024. So I would anticipate that being like maybe around May of next year that we actually start rebuilding those books, like actually rebuilding them on screen, like doing additional artwork and blah, 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 all that stuff. So we should have, God's grace, we'll have the Bastion campaign the Mecha Kaiju book, and the Color Mana system and Martial Powers book all done by end of 2026, which will clear most of my plate of all the things I wanted to get done for 5e24. And then at that point, we start diving into specifics, like building out like Ravnica campaign, Strixhaven campaign, Bloomburrow, all these other things using these mechanical systems and the Color Mana system that I built. So that's my curve for the next few years, and we'll see where it takes us. We'll see what complications I have during my die rolls that throw us off our timeline that need to be resolved before I can move forward with it. But my intention is to be doing that for the next 2 years here with you guys, to get through all those books and then to build the third generation of content after all of these get created, all curving together into basically 5th rank 5e, 5R, 5e, 5R, whatever. But it's all on the DMsGuild. And then from there, we can decide, are we going to still build stuff on the DMsGuild? Am I going to do stuff on Patreon? Am I going to do Kickstarters? We'll see where it takes us. But I can see the path, and I'm loving the content. This is all really building itself out nicely. So, hey, if you guys think this stuff is cool, here's my wind down. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications. I'm here doing artwork Monday through Friday in the mornings. Monday and Thursday nights doing game design. Tuesday and Friday lunch doing game design. Play testing on my Discord channel on Saturdays. Folks are welcome to jump into Discord if any of this stuff is interesting to you and you want to be involved. Obviously, this document is available for you guys as a playtest document. If you want to tag in as a DM and have this run in your campaigns as well, you are more than welcome to be on board, and I'll give you as much support as I need, and that will help me find where I need to emphasize explanations inside this actual document. By how well you're integrating and using it tells me how much information I need to provide to so people can grok it. So, the accident higher fees is suffer from intelligence. Nice, absolutely. So hey, that's it for today. I'm going to be back tomorrow morning. We're going to continue painting the Sharn City of Towers skyline, and I'll be back at lunch tomorrow to work on research. So thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you then. I'm out of here. Bye.